एक साल किन माथि जाऊ न अझ माथि जाऊ त्यो ठाउँ लोकेसनमा सबैजनालाई भनिदिउँ न अझ माथि छ मारुनी स्याङ्चुरी होइन
that's my hotel.
त्यो हजुरको होटल भयो यो ठाउँ चाहिँ
Mardi
village होइन बडो इन्ट्रेस्टिङ सो इन्ट्रेस्टिङ भेरी इन्ट्रेस्टिङ होइन I would love to have some.
yeah, you can come pick it up.
Yeah, I'll definitely go ahead and get one. So interesting.
And they were like selling it for 1,000 rupees. That's it.
That's it?
That's it. It's 1,000 rupees.
If you go to the source.
If you go to the source, yeah.
Wow.
You came in. It came in Rajan Sakya's car. All the feel and no. Just kidding. But I mean, like, I would love for people to go down to the villages and buy them. Okay? It's so nice, really. 1,000 rupiah. And they take at least about 7 to 8 days to make one.
Wow, so interesting. Can we start from this? Can I share the story to everybody?
Of course.
So interesting. X, so make sure that we tell everybody kota raisa bhanera hai. Mardi
village.
Mardi village bhanera हैन.
Mardi ki Madi?
Mardi. MARDI.
Mardi village.
Are you sure it's Mardi or
Mardi चाहिँ मैले चितवनको भेटाएँ एउटा एकचोटि चेक गर्नु है त.
Of course, our local मान्छेहरुले चाहिँ आर यति युज गर्छ गर्दैन थाहा छैन. अब इस मार्दी हामीले त मार्दी भन्छ.
मार्दी भन्छ हैन. हेर त ठ्याक्कै कतापट्टि रहेछ. यही हो.
it could be.
Okay, well, यहाँबाट चाहिँ गएर चाहिँ you can definitely go ahead and pick it up. होइन हाम्रो देशमा जता गए पनि होइन यस्तो इन्ट्रेस्टिङ कुराहरू अघि भने नि हामीले डोल्पोको कुराहरू थियो नि होइन त्यहाँ गयो you see their own culture हुन्छ नि होइन you can go ahead and like I don't know मलाई चाहिँ केही न केही ल्याउँ जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई सानो कुरा भए पनि हुन्छ नि केही न केही चाहिँ आर्टिफ्याक्ट अथवा केही न केही हुन्छ नि होइन खरिद गर्नुपर्छ भने खरिद गरेर हुन्छ नि ल्याउँ अनि यहाँ राखौँ भन्ने हुन्छ कि मलाई चाहिँ so that I can show it to the rest of the world rest of the audience हुन्छ नि कतै न कतैबाट चाहिँ केही न केही चाहिँ त्यो एउटा सानो चिनो जस्तो कि I don't know do you go through the same?
I mean that was the whole initiation. That is why we started the museum in the first place, is because to show the representation of who we are, and because that's what it is. Art, culture, heritage is the representation of any nation. And that is who we are, why we are, how we are. As it's reflected through our art. That is what it is. We've been passed on with all that knowledge, with all that heritage, with all that culture, and that defines you to be who you are today. In other words, Nepali ko paribhasha ke ho, Newar ko paribhasha ke ho. Like if you just cut us, it's just all bones, flesh, and blood. But what makes us a Nepali, what makes us who we are, is all that stuff that has been passed on through us, through generations. हाम्रो पूजाहरू भनेको त्यति नै इम्पोर्टेन्ट छ नि हैन किन आज चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ बुद्धिज्म या हिन्दुइज्म या क्रिस्चियनिटी whatever we believe in is something all that is been passed on, and art is the tangible representation of what it is. त्यसकारण चाहिँ हाम्रो आर्टलाई प्रोटेक्ट गर्नुपर्ने भनेको इट्स नट जस्ट फर द प्रोटेक्सन अफ आर्ट, इट्स फर द प्रोटेक्सन अफ द आइडेन्टिटी of who we are. So that's what it is.
So true. I remember you were saying like past पनि present पनि र कतै न कतैबाट त्यो फ्युचरलाई पनि चाहिँ हुन्छ नि अगाडि बढ्दै देखाउने एउटा बाटो चाहिँ आर्टले दिन्छ भनेर के हैन. Let's go a little bit back in the past if it's completely okay with you.
Yeah, anything is fine.
When we look at museums kai कुरा गर्दाखेरि हैन, which one was one of our first museums if you remember? जहाँ चाहिँ गएर चाहिँ हुन्छ नि हैन, okay ल the common people can come in and look at what we have भनेर भन्नु पर्यो भने if we had to go back हुन्छ नि हैन, not private owned, कतै न कतैबाट त्रिभुवनको पालाबाट सुरु भएको थियो कि what do you think, like just going back?
I'm going to give a very tricky answer to that.
Sure.
Every temple is a museum. Right? Every temple itself is a museum. Mm-hmm. The temple Pitra Boseko Deota was created by an artist. Right? But of course we have faith to it.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I always say when people come to my museum is every form of Deota Mandir, it is a representation of an artist. कुनै पनि देवताले चाहिँ हामीलाई चाहिँ नि सेल्फी खिचेर चाहिँ नि म यस्तो छु भनेर चाहिँ कल्पना दिएको थिएन हैन. एकजना आर्टिस्टले चाहिँ इमेजिनेसन गरेर त्यसमाथि चाहिँ डिभिनिटी ल्याएर चाहिँ नि हामीले चाहिँ त्यो मन्दिर भित्र राखेको देवता. So that itself, and we preserved all the temples so far. That is the first museum.
Yeah.
Not only in Nepal, maybe in the world. A temple, a church was the first museum. अब त्यसमाथि चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ फेथहरू राखेँ अब त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि सो आई मिन लाइक हजुर तपाईँले जुन क्वेसन सोध्नुभएको थियो विच इज द फर्स्ट म्युजियम अब अफकोर्स आई नो द क्वेसन द्याट यु आर आस्किङ आई थिङ्क द फर्स्ट म्युजियम वाज छाउनी म्युजियम चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ काठमाडौँमा चाहिँ जुन छ द्याट वाज द फर्स्ट म्युजियम द्याट वाज डेडिकेटेड एज अ म्युजियम फर द पब्लिक टु गो एन्ड सी इट्स जस्ट अ नर्मल म्युजियम तर इट्स स्याड द्याट वी हेभ नट बिन एबल टु अपकिप because museum going culture, it was never in our society. Museum going, if you go to European countries, आमा बाउहरूले पनि चाहिँ विकेन्डतिर चाहिँ बच्चाहरूलाई चाहिँ म्युजियम लाग्छ अनि चाहिँ नि बच्चादेखि नै चाहिँ नि आर्ट हिस्ट्री पढाउँछ नेपालमा चाहिँ नि we end up studying, I mean like I studied in Darjeeling. So even when I studied in Darjeeling, we were taught more about the Western art rather than Asian art or Nepali art or Indian art. So sad. I mean, I knew who Picasso was. But if I ask any Nepali, अहिले पनि बाटोमा गएर चाहिँ नेपालीलाई सोध्यो भने चाहिँ नि नेपाली आर्टिस्टहरूको नाम थाहा छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ अर्नीको नाम भन्दा the poor guy, he lived and died 1200 years ago. I mean in the 12th century. अहिलेको करेन्ट आर्टिस्टहरूको नाम थाहा छ भने they wouldn't know. And that's sad. Okay? And it is not their fault. It is our system's fault because we never give importance to art and culture. We become very complacent. अब हाम्रो भनाइ नै छ कि नजिकको देवता या चाहिँ नजिकको मन्दिरलाई चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ नि हेप्छौँ भनेर. And that's what it is. We become so complacent कि चाहिँ नि इभन मैले चाहिँ नि मोना खोल्दाखेरि पनि चाहिँ नि म्युजियम मोना खोल्दाखेरि पनि चाहिँ नि actually when I first opened the museum, I opened the museum for the Nepalese people, not even for the foreigners, because I wanted the Nepalese people to come and visit and see. And when I opened the museum also, it was actually dedicated for the living artist. I didn't even want to touch old art. पुरानो एन्टिकहरू चाहिँ मलाई इच्छै छैन. So we dedicated that museum to the living artists so that नेपाली मान्छेहरूले चाहिँ नि बिस्तारै चाहिँ नि नेपाली आर्टिस्टहरूलाई चाहिँ चिनोस्, जानोस्, भेटोस्. So that Nepalese आर्टलाई चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ नि नेपालमा मात्रै होइन कि चाहिँ इन्टरनेसनल प्लेटफर्ममा पनि कसरी लाग्ने हैन. Because our artists, I swear to God, they are one of the most modest, humble artists in the world. These guys really, really paint with their heart. I've seen art all over the world. And most of the places, they become very commercial. The Nepal artists, I think where Nepalese art is going, I think we are going to be one of the greatest artists of the world. We already are. We just not had the right platform. And that's what Mona is trying to do. Not only to have exhibitions here in Nepal, but also to have exhibitions all throughout the world. So we are planning to do this really big exhibition in Dubai in September, end of this year. So it's going to be like a Nepal Art Week we are trying to do. We are trying to collaborate with Dubai Foundation, Art Foundation, and they're going to give us a space for about 10 days, a huge space in Dubai for free. And planning to take about 12 to 15 artists from Nepal and do an exhibition. So that is also in one of the pipeline.
There's the very interesting. I'm trying to find something. I was in Dubai recently. म धेरै पछि दुबई गएको थिएँ होइन. अनि the friend that I was hanging out with होइन, the friend who came to pick me up, he was taking me to the hotel होइन, अनि उसले मलाई देखायो कि यो त लास्ट टाइम आउँदाखेरि यो थिएन होला भनेर उसले मलाई भन्यो कि होइन. अनि हो जस्तो पनि लाग्यो मलाई. I don't think I had seen this when I was in Dubai a couple of years ago होइन. Let me check your WhatsApp ल. मलाई बडो इन्ट्रेस्टिङ लाग्यो कि उसले मलाई यो तस्बिर देखाएपछि त्यो ठाउँ ठ्याक्क हामी पुग्दाखेरि होइन. let me just give me a minute, let me just find it होइन. अनि हुन्छ नि त जाउँ न त भनेर मैले भनेँ कि होइन. अनि भोलिपल्ट बिहान उसले मलाई टेक्स्ट पठायो कि हेर्न टिकटै छैन रहेछ भनेर भन्यो कि मलाई होइन. अनि द्याट गट मी थिङ्किङ के त्यो दुबई म्युजियम थियो कि
Museum of the Future.
Museum of the के भन्दो रहेछ फ्युचर भन्दो रहेछ होइन. अनि बाहिर चाहिँ check your WhatsApp ला. I'm trying to send you this तस्बिर है. मलाई यस्तो इन्ट्रेस्टिङ लागेको थियो कि त्यो हेर्दाखेरि हुन्छ नि त्यो यस्तो आइकनै थियो कि त्यो
Yeah, it's become iconic.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, yeah,
There
that's
you go.
what
मैले त्यो तस्बिरै खोज्नु भएन. There you go.
Yeah, it's right in the center of Dubai.
It's right there. Check the WhatsApp as well. मैले ठ्याक्कै त्यो गाडीबाट त्यो ठ्याक्कै खिचाए पनि थिएँ होइन अनि मलाई आफै अचम्म लागेको थियो कि होइन उनीहरूले चाहिँ I'm sure they've spent a lot of money.
Of course.
Right? They've spent a lot of money and time and resources and getting people from all around the world to help them out. We all know how Dubai operates, right? To get this done. Okay? And people from around the world will come and see it. I wanted अब हुन्छ ल जाउँ भन्दाखेरि अब छैन टिकट अर्को 1-2 हप्ताको लागि छैन भनेर उसले भन्यो कि होइन अनि मलाई ओके भन्ने भइरहेको थियो होइन Of course, coming back to the conversation that we were having earlier, I'll come to Dubai होइन विदेशबाट कोही साथी आयो अथवा हाम्रै there you go, that's what I saw
Yeah, yeah.
एकदम आइकनिक लागेको थियो कि राति मलाई हुन्छ नि राति झनै आइकनिक लागेको थियो चाहिँ विदेशबाट कोही आयो होइन नेपाली साथीहरू नै आयो भने पनि मैले कहिलेकाहीँ यसो डिनर सिनर गरिसकेपछि चाहिँ जाउँ न त भक्तपुर जाउँ जाउँ न त पाटन जाउँ होइन जाउँ ल बसन्तपुरै जाउँ त ल एक राउन्ड हानौँ भने डिनर सिनर सकिसकेपछि सबै थोक सकिसकेपछि राति मलाई झनै इन्ट्रेस्टिङ लाग्छ कि हुन्छ नि होइन लेट मी जस्ट सो यु अराउन्ड भनेर हुन्छ नि होइन अलिकति भए पनि यसो अब अफकोर्स टाढैबाट भए पनि हेर है भनेर चाहिँ म गाडीबाट भए पनि देखाइदिन्छु कि होइन एटलिस्ट कम टुमोरो पे द टिकट एन्ड देन जस्ट गो चेक इट आउट भनेर होइन इट्स टोटली वर्थ इट भनेर होइन आई बिलिभ इट्स अ लिभिङ वी आर इन अ लिभिङ म्युजियम हामी जता हिँडे पनि जता गए पनि जतासुकै होस् कतै न कतैबाट एटलिस्ट काठमाडौँको कुराकानी गर्नुपर्दा आई फिल लाइक इट्स अ म्युजियम इट सेल्फ कल्चर किन बनाएको छैन जस्तो लाग्छ हजुरलाई जस्ट आस्किङ यु द्याट वी आर नट taught to go to museums?
I think one of the reasons that we are not taught to go to the museum was, I think, it has a lot to do with the education. To make people realize the importance of art culture and heritage. Culture especially. अब हामीलाई पनि चाहिँ बच्चा बेलामा चाहिँ नि बुवा आमाहरूले चाहिँ नि पूजामा बस्दाखेरि चाहिँ बस पूजा गर अनि कहिले पनि एक्सप्लेन गरेन कि चाहिँ नि वाइ हैन त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि when as of a kid when you are forced to do something you tend to reject it without understanding because they don't see the relevance. And I think one of the main reasons answering to your question is because you can't force education or information onto somebody. You have to show them some kind of relevance to make it acceptable to you. तपाईलाई चाहिँ नि यदि चाहिँ नि तपाईको लाइफमा चाहिँ नि रेलेभेन्ट नभएको चिज अनि मैले कुरा गरे भने चाहिँ नि इट विल टेक यु 2 seconds फर यु टु जस्ट रिजेक्ट इट तर चाहिँ त्यो कुरा चाहिँ रेलेभेन्ट भयो भने चाहिँ यु विल एक्चुअली go through this thing to get more information out of it. So we have not been able to, so there's been a big communication gap, and that is one of the reasons why museum happens and why art is important, why culture is important. भनेर चाहिँ हामीले कहिले पनि सिकाउँदै सिकाएन के सो त्यो नसिकाउँदाखेरि चाहिँ नि मान्छेले चाहिँ why is it relevant भन्ने चाहिँ कुरा आएर चाहिँ नि that is why हामीले चाहिँ नि यसलाई चाहिँ रिजेक्ट गरेर आएको छौँ तर अहिले चाहिँ नि at least now coming to the 21st century people are wanting to go back to their roots some way somehow they want to go back to the roots and they want to see like where did I come from why do we do the certain things that we do what is the reason behind it भन्ने चाहिँ त्यस्तो कुराहरू आउँदाखेरि चाहिँ नि तर अहिले आएर चाहिँ के भयो भने चाहिँ फेरि there is no place अब चाहिँ तपाईले चाहिँ नेपालमा भनौँ न मोना is the first private museum I don't understand why I was the first private museum I don't. They've been much richer people than me. They've been so many, I'm like hundreds of years. And why was there? Why? And like I'm thankful because I became the first one. I'm thankful, but nobody did it because I'm doing it right now. यस्तो कल्चरहरू हुँदाखेरि पनि चाहिँ नि why wasn't there even a good government museum? पनि त छैन नि. I don't even know why. And I feel sad, but I also feel happy. In the sense that I was the one who to do it. It gave me an opportunity to do it. So a lot of things came into order. COVID was actually a boon in disguise. I'm sorry for all the people who lost somebody during COVID. But for me, I was able to turn around that moment and I could channel my energy into art, into the museum. And So यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ I think like I said, the realization is definitely coming, especially with the younger people. And now I see more because there are a lot of Nepalese people living abroad. And अस्ति चाहिँ कुरा गर्दाखेरि I think nearly about 50 to 60 lakhs. I was looking at one of your interviews only. And 50 to 60 lakhs Nepalese people are living abroad. And when people are abroad, they are more close to Nepal than when people who are in Nepal and living in Nepal. उनीहरूलाई पनि चाहिँ नि they want all, and now the thing is the next generation of children are all going to be born abroad. Okay? जुन चाहिँ त्यो 50-60 लाखको मान्छेहरूको चाहिँ अब त्यति जान त हुँदैन, तर lot of the children, Nepalese children are going to be born abroad, and they're going to want some kind of connection to Nepal. And so त्यो कनेक्सनहरू भनेको चाहिँ नि it always comes through art or culture or heritage, and that is, like I said, is always represented by a museum. So this thing is going to be more important, and I think we see that a lot of people अहिले पनि चाहिँ म्युजियममा पनि चाहिँ नि I mean, like, my museum is open 7 days a week. It's anybody's allowed to come. Of course, we have a certain entry fee. अहिले पनि चाहिँ दिनमा चाहिँ नि we have about 60 to 70 visitors. There are only about 10% are Nepalese. 90% चाहिँ still foreigners नै हुन्छ के. It's sad. We try to educate. People don't even like museum पनि आउँदाखेरि चाहिँ धेरै जस्तो नेपालीहरू चाहिँ म्युजियममा आउँदाखेरि चाहिँ नि ड्याङ्गै मलाई प्राइस सोध्छ के. I said, we are not a gallery. We don't sell art. Whatever art is in the museum is in the collection of the museum, and that is our contribution to my society. When I said that is what we always try to say. That नेपालमा पनि म्युजियम छ र भन्छ कि मान्छेले, ए यो ग्यालरी होला, यसको प्राइस कति, त्यसको प्राइस कति. बिकज अर्को एउटा चाहिँ नि मान्छेहरूको चाहिँ नि रङ मेन्टालिटी के हो भन्छ नि, आर्ट इज अलवेज लिङ्क टु प्राइस. यदि चाहिँ केही चिज महँगो भयो भने चाहिँ त्यो राम्रो आर्ट, यदि चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ सस्तो छ या चाहिँ केही छ भने चाहिँ नि त्यसलाई त्यो राम्रो केही होइन भने चाहिँ नि. सो पिपल अलवेज वान्ट टु से लाइक यो आर्टको कति, करोड रुपियाँ, ओहो तपाईँ यो राम्रो होला. So the whole हाम्रो चाहिँ नि the education about art, culture and history is something we've really become complacent, and that is one of the biggest challenges I have, because when we talk about the museum, त्यहाँ चाहिँ तपाईको चाहिँ नि मोनामा आउने चाहिँ जुन चीज तपाईले देख्नुहुन्छ, that is only 5% of what we do. एउटा ठाउँमा चाहिँ नि 2-4 पेन्टिङहरु किनेर राख्ने देखाउने भनेको कुनै पनि ठुलो कुरा होइन. Anybody can do it. But the thing is, you need to do research, you need to create relevance, you need to educate the people why the museum is important, why our culture is important, why our art is important, why must we protect the artist, why must we encourage the artist. So हामीले चाहिँ त्यो म्युजियम बनाउँदाखेरि पनि चाहिँ नि the reason that I wanted to dedicate Mona to the living artist of Nepal is so that we can encourage the future artists. Because आर्टिस्टहरूले चाहिँ नि हाम्रो कल्चर हेरिटेजलाई चाहिँ नि एउटा चाहिँ लेगेसीको रूपमा कन्टिन्यू गर्ने मान्छेहरू हो के. इफ देयर वाज नो आर्टिस्ट, सो वी वुड बी इजिप्टमा चाहिँ नि पिरामिड्स हेर्नु गएको जस्तै हुन्छ के. देयर आर नो मोर पिपल हु आर मेकिङ पिरामिड्स, राइट. बट नेपालमा चाहिँ अहिले पनि चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ नि ग्रेट आर्टिस्ट आर देयर हु आर स्टिल कन्टिन्युइङ द लेगेसी. सो वी हेभ टु also encourage the newer artists. Sadly, artists-haruko life ma chani most of the artists they come from either middle class or low middle class. Ani chani कुनै पनि parentले chani artist बन्नको लागि chani कहिले पनि encourage गर्दैन, because there is no scope. How will they make money? I'm also a father. And मेरो छोरा चाहिँ नि भोलि आर्टिस्ट बन्छु भनेर चाहिँ तिम्रो आर्टिस्ट यहाँ नेपालमा स्कोपै छैन. हाउ विल यु सेल यर आर्ट? तिमी कसलाई बेच्छ? भोलि चाहिँ यु विल नट बी सक्सेसफुल. सो इभन धेरै जस्तो चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ नि मान्छेहरूले चाहिँ आर्टिस्ट बन्छु भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ त पेन्टर बन्ने भनेर भन्छ कि, घरको पेन्टर गर्ने भनेर भन्छ त्यसरी चाहिँ. सो एटलिस्ट चाहिँ म्युजियम बन्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि इफ पिपल फाइन्ड आउट कि चाहिँ नि अहिले पनि चाहिँ नेपाली आर्टहरू चाहिँ नि एउटा आर्टको तपाईँको चाहिँ नि करोडौँ रुपियाँ पर्ने आर्टहरू पनि छ होइन. अन एभरेज 5 to 10 lakhs पर्छ इफ यु बाई एन आर्ट राइट नाउ. अनि भोलि चाहिँ नि आमा बाउहरूले चाहिँ ए पेन्टिङ बेचेर पनि चाहिँ तँले चाहिँ नि 5-10 लाख रुपियाँ चाहिँ वर्षको चाहिँ 30-40 लाख 50 लाख 1 करोड कमाउन सकिन्छ भने चाहिँ लेट मी एन्करेज यु बिकज आई थिङ्क देयर इज अ स्कोप छ
You have talent too.
यु हेभ ट्यालेन्ट टु डु समथिङ भनेर पनि चाहिँ नि म्युजियम्सहरू चाहिँ नि सो इम्पोर्टेन्ट स्पेसली लिभिङ आर्टिस्टहरूको लागि भने चाहिँ नि आमा बाउहरूले पनि चाहिँ आफ्नो बच्चाहरूलाई चाहिँ एन्करेज गरोस् एन्ड फर एनी आर्टिस्ट मोर देन द प्राइस एक्चुली अ गुड आर्टिस्टको लागि चाहिँ नि इट इज द प्लेटफर्म द्याट दे लुक फर मैले आर्ट बनाएर चाहिँ नि मान्छेहरूले चाहिँ देख्यो भने चाहिँ नि मेरो जिन्दगीको चाहिँ नि मतलब भयो द रिजन वाइ आई बिकेम अ आर्टिस्ट is there's a reason for it हैन सो म्युजियम बनाउँदाखेरि नेपालको चाहिँ नि आर्टिस्टहरूलाई पनि चाहिँ नि भोलि गएर चाहिँ नि मेरो आर्ट पनि चाहिँ मनामा रहोस् भने चाहिँ दे ट्राई हार्ड दे सी मोर एभेन्युज दे सी होप एन्ड द्याट इज द होप द्याट वी वान्ट टु क्रिएट
And I felt that when I came to Mona, as well as the building next to it as well. I'll come.
The art house.
Art house. I'll come to that. Bishesh, I just wanted to jump into this.
Right there.
Thanks for coming. Tell me a little bit about financial art that you teach at King's. किनभने अघि नै हामीले एडुकेसनको कुरा गऱ्यौँ होइन. I just want to touch base on that.
Okay then. So यस्तो the financial arts भनेको चाहिँ is a class I created नै के
Yeah, exactly.
It's a module I made नै the whole idea there is that हामीले जहिले पनि like conventionally you hear like there's a bachelor's of science in finance science in finance but what do we do with finance so at the end of the day we're talking about managing money blah 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 all that is there but the crux of it is you find risk adjusted returns भन्नाले अब high risk, high return one, because everyone knows. But then again, you reduce the risk while you still up your returns. Finding that alpha there is what we're looking for the whole time. Ani a big part of finance is valuation. And the valuation pani science se bhanna chai mildaina bhanne is a very big notion. So like a lot of it is because valuation is subjective. Like for example, let's just take my phone.
Sure.
Tapaiलाई you like Apple, you like the ecosystem, you want to buy it. That's why you're willing to pay $1,000 for dollars. Aru mancheru who don't want to be a part of it, they're just like it's just glamorous and you don't want to pay for it. Pani type ko. And that's the notion. Like aba pheri aara like let's think about it as but how do I tell the story? So finance is not about numbers matrai bhanera ke like aba think about it this way like Uber, I'll tell you it's a taxi company online. It's like, okay, great. A couple of $1 billion for a taxi company. But if the same way, I tell you, Uber is a global network of drivers and passengers who are revolutionizing the public transport space without actually having a single public transport of their own.
Yeah.
Now, that creates a story. And then there's a number there.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. Couple of weeks back, I was sitting with a friend. मैले साथीसँग बसिरहेको थिएँ होइन दाई साथीसँग बसिरहेको थिएँ अनि त्यसपछि उहाँले जिस्केर मलाई कस्तो इन्ट्रेस्टिङ कुरा भन्नुभयो कि होइन यो म्याप अब तिमीले जति मोल हाले पनि हुन्छ जतिसुकै मोल हालेर तिमीले कुनै दिन बेच्नु पऱ्यो भने जतिसुकै बेच्यौ भने जति मोल हाले पनि हुन्छ किनभने यो म्यापले जे देखाएको छ यहाँभित्र जे सुनाएको छ होइन त्यसको भ्याल्यु तिमीले जति राख्दै पनि भयो भनेर उहाँले जिस्केर भन्दै हुनुहुन्थ्यो होइन अब त्यो कति राख्ने भनेर आई नेभर सेल इट बट इफ आई एभर सेल इट आई क्यान सेल इट इन वाट एभर आई क्यान पुट द प्राइस वाट एभर आई वान्ट
Right.
बिकज द म्याप वाज हियर एन्ड एभ्रिबडी हेज बिन अ पार्ट अफ दिस म्याप होइन सो इज इट समथिङ slightly am I getting to what you're trying to say slightly
in the art zone yes so going into that part in the like because it's so subjective that it's not just numbers there's also a story to it त्यो त हुने छँदै नै छ अब especially with art पनि अब we view it as an alternate asset class at least if not in Nepal because the market's very nascent everywhere else like the whole wall art ko market नै हजुर हेर्नुहुन्छ I think 2022 ma the wall art market is somewhere around $56 billion and the volume transaction that happens around in the market is like about 3-4 billion a year and this is excluding हजुरको peer to peer transfer हुने आर्टहरू हुन्छ नि like you buy from me I buy from you नगरिकन चाहिँ auction houses and dealersहरूबाट सेल हुनेहरूको and it's an alternate asset class अब तपाईँले भनेर जग्गा जस्तो स्टक्स जस्तो गरेर बढ्छ भन्ने चाहिँ होइन with art it doesn't really work that way. It's like there's something called the compounding average growth rate. अब एउटा whole like 10 वर्षको 15 वर्षको 5 वर्ष पनि को हजुरले रिटर्न हेर्नुहुन्छ. Okay, if you invest in art to a certain level, then slowly you can see that it grows and it happens. But year in, year out, this is my return 15% like the market. No,
त्यस्तो चाहिँ हुँदैन. Okay, so since we're having this conversation, right, make me understand, है त. एउटा क्यानभसमा एउटा रातो लाइन ड्र गरिन्छ, त्यो रातो लाइन ड्र गरिसकेपछि my understanding, है, just saying, होइन, there's a canvas and there's a red line in between. A very famous artist has created that, let's say. That's worth $500 million. How?
Okay, interesting one day. But you alama, the first question you're going to say is, and a lot of questions हाम्रो नेपाली आर्टिस्टहरुको पनि गर्दा त्यसमा के हुन्छ, especially with modern art and then and this abstract art ma. The first question you're going to be like, यो बनाउन त 2 घण्टा पनि लाग्दैन. 2 घण्टाको कामको लागि म यति तिर्ने, हैन? This is like what you're telling me, this guy's per hour rate is $500,000, and like exactly हजुरले भनेको rate मा त्यसरी गर्ने हो नि. The question is, no, it's not 1 घण्टाको. It's, how old is this artist? This artist is like 40 years old. 40 years is how long it took for this artist to make what this is. And this art gets its value because of its originality. Like any art जुन हेर्नुहुन्छ हजुरले, त्यसको the value नै आउने भनेको, everyone's going to say authenticity is what creates the highest value. अब again हाम्रो valuation के part मा जाँदा भन्दा it's like हामीले story भन्यो, numbers भन्यो, there's an even balance, हैन? हाम्रो मार्केटमा सबभन्दा जाने भनेको the one where numbers speak the most and story speaks least, त्यसमा अलि गर्न सक्यो. जग्गाको more or less त्यसरी नै गर्न मिल्यो. Companies same way, but art मा त a lot of it is so much more subjective because yes, numbers support it. हुन्छ नि, यो आर्टिस्टको अरू आर्टहरुको running rate के छ, what are the precedent transactions that this art has sold for before भन्ने त छँदै छ. But in this case कतिवटा आर्टिस्टहरुको त अब their story हुन्छ नि, like a simple artist को, like for example famous artistहरुको, if that brush stroke is there, the complete value of that art is different. Okay?
So त्यो कुरामा चाहिँ नि, I just want to interfere a little bit. I think brand plays a big part.
Yeah.
And also the promotion. The most recent art that got sold for an exorbitant price was Salvador Mundi, which was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. And it was only, that painting was discovered only 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
It sold for $450 million.
Exactly.
Right? And so in 2020, I mean in 2001 or 2002, it was found in a garage. It was sold for $2,000. Then it was refurbished. But it was valuated, then it got sold for $400 million. Of course, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So they say this is like also the male version.
$500 million जति थियो गरे, त्यस्तै कति थियो? 450 हो.
$450 million, then this was sold. It was sold to the, I think the king of Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi, one of them. And then he misplaced it for 8 months. And it was a big thing. And so it's also the story. And it's also how you promote an artist. So I look like, why is a painting worth hundreds of millions of dollars? Is also the people behind it. You have to see, you have to understand. I mean, like during Mona Lisa is valued at 800 million pounds, 800 million euros, which sits in Louvre in Paris, the Louvre Museum. I mean, Leonardo time ma chani aru artistharu pani chani थियो नि, who was as good as Leonardo da Vinci. Then how come the other artists didn't get famous? It's luck. It is. If you really want to look at it, it's luck is also there. To be born at the right place at the right time, to be supported, to have patrons at the right time, the right patrons. Everything comes into play. As a Arachaini, why is Tamil the most expensive real estate in Kathmandu? Tamil ko चाहिँ तपाईको चाहिँ नि 5 मिनेट मात्रै उता गयो भने चाहिँ नि ठमेलमा चाहिँ आनको चाहिँ 4 करोड भन्छ, यतातिर गर्दाखेरि आनको चाहिँ 50 लाख हो के. So in art ma pani चाहिँ नि a luck plays a lot of part. How it is promoted, who it is being promoted by. अहिले चाहिँ नि तपाईले भनेको जस्तै, why does one stroke of painting cost $1 million or $2 million or $5 million? Then it's also people are looking for it to invest. I think this has been a big conversation in the West. Nepal is this is where a lot of the black money is getting parked.
I was about to come to this.
It's a very controversial question. वाइ अहिले चाहिँ अघि हामी चाहिँ दुबईको पनि कुरा गरिरहेको थियो अहिले चाहिँ नि इन नेक्स्ट 4 to 5 years दुबई इज गोइङ टु बी द आर्ट हब अफ द वर्ल्ड नट न्युयोर्क नट लन्डन एन्ड नट प्यारिस किनभने चाहिँ दुबईमा चाहिँ नि दे डोन्ट आस्क यु क्वेसन्स वेयर द मनी इज कमिङ फ्रम इफ यु गट $1 billion and how many houses can you buy, how many cars can you buy, you know, and even if you buy a Rolls Royce which costs I don't know a couple of $1 million, and there's another guy who owns the same kind of Rolls Royce, but if you buy an original piece of art only you in the world can own it. So यसमा चाहिँ इगोको पनि कुराहरू आउँछ हैन. So when you look at art as an investment, when you look at art as a security and art as ownership गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ धेरै कुराहरू चाहिँ नि प्लेमा आउँछ कि. So why does certain artists become famous? Sometimes it's just luck. It is. Certain artists, I know certain artists whose work is amazing, but their art doesn't even get labor value. Whereas other artistsहरूले चाहिँ नि 1 महिना 2 महिनामा चाहिँ गरेको आर्टहरू चाहिँ अहिले पनि नेपालमा चाहिँ सजिलैसँग चाहिँ 30-40 लाखमा बेच्न सकिन्छ. So it's just luck. And once people, why do we pay $2,000 for an iPhone? I can buy a Chinese phone for 1/10 of the price, which does more than that iPhone, but I still pay for it because then the ego comes in. You know, people want to show off. It becomes a part of the status quo. To have, one of the big things right now in Nepal is to have a Samudramanko painting in their house or in their office. That becomes a status quo.
I'm so sorry. Let me just. Would you say his name again?
Samudraman Singh.
Samudraman Singh, ex Goal Garada. So it's
a status quo. People, I'm like.
How much does it cost?
Anything from
starting
from 15 to 20 lakhs to about 4 to 5 crores. Of course, I mean, like, if you buy it directly from the artist, I mean, like, you got to wait 5 to 7 years. If you buy it from if you buy it from collectors, that's what it will cost. Right? So that's what it is. So even in Nepal, there's also that level of art collectors, art buyers. And it's any.
X, can you show me his?
Yeah. So.
Oh, okay.
So and also one of the reasons मैले चाहिँ museum खोलेको चाहिँ छ नि in 2018 2019 मा I was really inspired by him, and he actually has to do a lot with why I actually opened the museum. It was मैले museum खोल्ने भनेको चाहिँ I was not thinking of it पहिलेदेखि नै म museum को. It just happened at the spur of the moment. Literally at the spur of the moment, I decided to open the museum.
Tell everybody.
So in December of 2018, I was sitting in a small shop in Patan, and I have a very good friend in Patan who owns a small handicraft shop. And so whenever I get really fed up with dealing with my hotel business and my corporate businesses, I just go to this Patan shop and I just sit down and have a cup of coffee and smoke a cigarette or something like that. अनि बस्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि अनि एकजना केटा चाहिँ आयो कि भित्र पसलभित्र आयो अनि दाइ थाहा भयो भने के भने चाहिँ हाम्रो एकजना नेपाली आर्टिस्टको चाहिँ नि एउटा पेन्टिङ चाहिँ नि एकजना चाइनिजले चाहिँ नि 3.5 करोड रुपियाँ दिएको तर चाहिँ त्यो कलेक्टरले चाहिँ नि 3.5 करोडमा पनि बेचेन भने कि. अनि आवाज लाइक किन नबेचेको 3.5 करोडमा चाहिँ एउटा पेन्टिङ को आर्टिस्ट भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ समुद्र भनेर भन्यो. द्याट टाइम आई डिडन्ट इभन नो हु समुद्र वाज. अनि आई सेड के पेन्टिङ यो भनेर भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि यस्तो किन नबेचेको भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि बिकज द कलेक्टर वान्टेड 4.5 crores. So he was not willing to settle for 3.5.
Wow.
And then I said, who's this collector? And I said, like, then he told me who the collector was, and it happened to be that I knew this guy. So I immediately gave him a call, and I said, like, दाइ यस्तो यस्तो कुरा सुने हो र भने चाहिँ हो यो हो भने यो चाहिँ पेन्टिङ हेर्नु पऱ्यो दाइ एकदम हेर्नु मन लाग्यो 3.5 करोड जाने चाहिँ पेन्टिङ एउटा हेर्नै पऱ्यो दाइ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि त्यो मान्छेले चाहिँ he knew me very well, and he said no. He said no. I said, like, दाइ किन नाइ भन्नुभएको अनि मेरो इगो अलिकति चढ्यो कि त्यहाँ. I said, no, you know who I am, you know, and if I want to buy the painting for 4 crores, I can buy the painting. I said, त्यस्तो होइन त्यो एकजना चाहिँ अफर चाहिँ चाइनिजले गरेको रहेछ. अनि त्यो चाइनिजले के भनेको रहेछ भने चाहिँ नि हाम्रो चाहिँ डिल नभएसम्म चाहिँ नि तपाईँले चाहिँ यो पेन्टिङ चाहिँ कसलाई पनि देखाउनु पाउँदैन भनेर भन्यो अनि त्यो टाइममा चाहिँ मलाई चाहिँ के क्लिक भयो भने चाहिँ नि यदि हामी नेपालीहरूले चाहिँ नि आफ्नै नेपाली आर्टिस्टहरूको चाहिँ आर्ट यदि हेर्न पाएन भने चाहिँ नि देन वी आर गोइङ टु लुज अल आवर आर्ट एन्ड सबै आर्टहरू चाहिँ विदेशमा चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ नि चाइना जापान युएस युरोपमा चाहिँ जान्छ एन्ड नेपालीहरूले नि चाहिँ नेपाली आर्ट हेर्न सक्दैन भनेर चाहिँ नि त्यो टाइममा चाहिँ नि विदिन फ्लिकर अफ अ सेकेन्ड आई ड्रो ब्याक फ्रम पाटन टु काठमाडौँ गेस्ट हाउस एन्ड अन द वे आई सेड आई एम गोइङ टु ओपन अप अ म्युजियम सो द्याट द नेप्लिज पिपल क्यान सी दिस वर्क यदि चाहिँ नि भर्खर चाहिँ समुद्रको जुन पेन्टिङहरू चाहिँ तपाईँले चाहिँ नि देखाउनु भएको थियो all this painting, if Mona was not there, it would have all gone outside. It would have all gone to China or Japan to US. And we would have never been able to see the work. So that was the reason actually I opened the museum. So that the Nepalese people can see the quality of art our artists are creating. And most, if I say this to most of the artists, they will say no. तर चाहिँ नि अहिलेको 21st सेन्चुरीको चाहिँ नि नेपाली आर्टिस्टहरू चाहिँ नि आई थिङ्क इन द होल हिस्ट्री अफ नेपाली आर्ट दे आर द बेस्ट दे हेभ इभल्भ टु बी द बेस्ट अहिले चाहिँ द क्वालिटी अफ वर्क द प्यासन द्याट दे पुट इन द आर्ट इज दि बेस्ट आर्ट आई मिन अफकोर्स पहिलाको मन्दिरहरूमा चाहिँ जुन चाहिँ आर्टहरू छ जुन पवाजहरू जुन थाङ्का छ दे आर गुड तर अहिलेको आर्टिस्टहरूको आर्ट इज एक्सेप्सनल is exceptional and we should be lucky that we are able to see this work. It's amazing. It's really amazing.
Tell me a little bit about Kathmandu Art House. So म आउँदाखेरि होइन मैले आई फगट त्यो म्युरलको दिनमा आएको थिएँ म होइन म्युरलको दिनमा आएको थिएँ म होइन सो त्यो दिन आउँदाखेरि अफकोर्स म एकजना आर्टिस्टहरूसँग उता गएँ होइन मैले सबै त हेर्न पाइनँ मैले आई डेन्ट गो टु इन्डिभिजुअल स्टुडियोज होइन बट अफकोर्स आई वेन्ट टु अ फ्यु होइन अनि आई स पिपल आर्टिस्ट हेभ स्पेस इज द्याट द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेन्ट थिङ इज द्याट वान अफ द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेन्ट थिङ अघि प्लेटफर्म भन्नु पनि होइन
इट्स पार्ट अफ द आर्ट इकोसिस्टम
एक्ज्याक्ट यु निड अ होम नि त होइन यु निड अ होम अवे फ्रम होम राइट सो
वर्किङ स्पेस यु निड अ प्लेटफर्म सो इन 2020 वी ओपन द म्युजियम अनि सो वी ran Mona for about a year and a half अनि धेरैजना आर्टिस्टहरू आउँथ्यो म कहाँ अनि चाहिँ लाइक दाइ तपाईँले त म्युजियम त खोल्नुभयो तर चाहिँ नि म्युजियमले कति आर्ट किन्छ होइन आर्टको लागि चाहिँ एउटा प्लेटफर्म चाहिन्छ वे दे क्यान कम एन्ड वर्क वे दे क्यान कम एन्ड सो हामीले चाहिँ नि काठमाडौँ आर्ट हाउस भनेर चाहिँ वी इस्टाब्लिस समथिङ सो इन द्याट बिल्डिङ वी हेभ अबाउट 20 studios, individual studios. And to about 50% of the artists, we give the space for free. We don't even charge them money for rent or for anything. So they can just come there and actually work at their own time, create their own work, and they can sell. They can talk to the buyers. Whoever comes into the studios, they can talk to them about what they are creating. So we have artists who are as old as 20, 21 years old. They come and they work and we try to create that platform for them because art ecosystem just the art and the artist is not what creates the art ecosystem. It's the buyer, it's the collector, it's the platform, it's the media. So many things create the art ecosystem for the art market to be stable and to grow. Anthony, so when we did this, we just didn't want to make one museum, just have walls and just show we wanted to support the whole ecosystem. So it evolved slowly, okay? Because we started getting very intimate with the artist. And how do we make them sustain? Because about 8 to 10 months ago, we had this young artist who came to meet me and he said, Tai, ma euta artist, tara chai ni, I don't have a platform here. My parents are not supporting me to be an artist because they think that I'm going crazy because he does abstract work. And I happen to know the mother actually. She was a very good friend. And dai malai chani, you give me a space and I will make sure that you will never be disappointed with me when I pani. And I had never seen his work, but I saw so much purity in what he was saying. And then, this is the space. You come and work. And after 8 months, he's become one of the most famous young contemporary artists in Nepal.
What's his name?
Arnab Mansingh. And today he is actually in London. He got a internship in a university in London. And I don't know if I should say this, but I'm trying to actually, his artwork will most probably be picked up by one of the biggest museum in the UK. I cannot mention which name of the museum. That is world ko top 3 museum. World ko top 3 museum le jani Nepali एकजना 22 वर्षको केटाको आर्ट चाहिँ नि most probably acquire गर्छ होला.
Wow.
And can you imagine, once his artwork gets bought by a museum, his prices are going to shoot up.
Yeah.
So he was just lucky.
Yeah.
I was able to introduce him to the museum, to the museum curator, because they are very good friends of mine.
That's him?
Yeah, that's him.
his work?
Yeah, that's
What's
his
this?
work.
What's this kind of art called?
You can call it abstract. You can call it contemporary.
Abstract expressionism, right?
के हो रे?
Abstract expressionism.
Say it on the mic. Say it.
Oh, abstract expressionism is how he coins it.
So his artwork, I think quite a lot of Nepalma पनि चाहिँ नि, some of the collectors actually have bought quite a lot of his work. And within 8 months, he created about 35 artworks.
Interesting.
Yeah, really. I mean, like this kid, if you talk to him, oh man, he knows about art more than anybody I've ever talked to art about. And he's 22 years old, self-taught, never went to a university, nobody taught him how to paint. He didn't go
That's
to
the best.
And the total originality.
That's the best. That's the best. If somebody had taught me
And
how to talk.
So even today, if you say to me,
That's him?
yeah. So even today, if you tell me, Monaco चाहिँ नि अहिलेसम्मको चाहिँ नि सफरमा चाहिँ नि what makes you so proud भन्दाखेरि, it's not me owning the art what is inside Mona. That doesn't make me proud. What makes me proud is when I see these kids doing what they like. And I felt that I have saved them from being somebody else. Because when a nation loses an artist, it loses a national treasure. Because भोलि गएर चाहिँ नि हाम्रो जेनेरेसनको चाहिँ नि representation is done through their work. भोलि चाहिँ after 100-200 years, पछि चाहिँ 21st century को चाहिँ नेपालीहरु चाहिँ what they were thinking भन्दाखेरि तपाईं र हाम्रो किताबहरु या चाहिँ हाम्रो बायोग्राफीहरु त निस्किँदैन. Then it is represented through their art. This was the period, this kind of art was being created in Nepal. So that is the mindset of the Nepalese people at that time. So that is how the future will look at our generation.
Interesting.
Also, with like Arnav Kaur, I think that's where it gets very interesting. Arnav and then other Amro like new 20-30-year-old artists. Like, because of course, like with all due respect, with Bauba artists, everyone's valuing skill in Nepal. The intricate lines, the intricate details, and that's what gives value to a lot of the Purano paintings. But with Arnav, the challenge is fun because like Mancherli, they've never really valued the concept, the idea behind it.
It's
but
new.
With them, it's new. And then it's an interesting space to work in. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Is everybody happy there? How do you make everybody happy? Let's say you have, how many studios do you have in there?
25.
25.
25 artists
Are all the artists happy? त्यो ह्याप्पिनेसको लेभल पनि एउटा हुन्छ नि होइन, किनभने अब सबैजनालाई त सबै थोक त ऊ प्रोभाइड गर्न त सकिँदैन होला.
I'm not here to give them happiness. I'm just here to give them a platform. To be happy or not to be happy is up to them. I give them a space where they can have a little bit of freedom to work. And if they are happy, they are happy. And
What other challenges do you have? I'm just trying to understand. You have so many different artists working in one space, right? So many different styles.
We work with nearly about 200-300 artists.
There you go. Challenges पनि त कतै न कतैबाट हैन. I'm sure you have challenges to face individually working with all of them.
A challenge, of course, I cannot buy all the artwork. Only an artwork down, most of people do expect for me to buy, but of course I cannot buy all the artwork. And so that is actually one of the biggest challenges that नेपालमा चाहिँ नि आर्ट पेट्रन्सहरू छैन क्या, and that is really sad. If you look at our culture, the whole, especially काठमाडौँको होइन, तपाईँको चाहिँ काठमाडौँको जति पनि मन्दिरहरू चाहिँ छ नि, it was never built by a government. It was always built by communities, by गुठी संस्थानहरूले. So there was a lot of patronage before. But suddenly there is no patrons of art now. The reason that हाम्रो टेम्पल्सहरू, हाम्रो चाहिँ मन्दिरहरू चाहिँ अहिलेसम्म चाहिँ नि बसेको कारण चाहिँ किनभने चाहिँ बिकज अल द गुठिजहरू गर्दाखेरि हो नि होइन. अब चाहिँ नि तपाईँ चाहिँ नि अहिलेको जेनेरेसनमा चाहिँ नि आर्ट पेट्रन्सहरू भनेकै देखेको छैन मैले. इन होल अफ काठमाडौँमा चाहिँ नि मैले चाहिँ नि मेबी 6-7 जना who really are like, oh, art is important, हामीले चाहिँ आर्ट किन्नुपर्छ, हामीले चाहिँ आर्टलाई चाहिँ आर्टिस्टहरूलाई चाहिँ बचाउनुपर्छ भन्ने चाहिँ नि त्यतिजना मात्रै हो. Most of the people, when they come to the art house, and I think Bishesh also faces the same kind of challenges because he's also helping me with the art, is the first question they ask is, मैले चाहिँ यो आर्ट आज किने भन्छ नि 2 वर्षपछि चाहिँ यसको भ्याल्यु कति हुन्छ. So they look at art totally on an investment perspective.
जग्गा किने जस्तै हैन. And I can understand because आफ्नो पैसा आफूले चाहिँ नि पसिना चुहाएको पैसा चाहिँ नि खर्च गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि it has to have a value. ROI चाहियो.
ROI त चाहियो हैन. And everybody हैन. I can understand that aspect as well. तर आर्टलाई चाहिँ नि that is where the education comes in. Why is यदि चाहिँ नि हामीले चाहिँ नि गुठीको मान्छेहरूले चाहिँ नि ए यो मन्दिर किन चाहियो र, बरु यो मन्दिरको चाहिँ जग्गाबाट चाहिँ अहिले चाहिँ करोड रुपियाँ आइरहेको छ, त्यो बेचेर चाहिँ बरु हामी सबैले पैसा लिए भइहाल्यो भने पनि त हुन्थ्यो. त्यो भनेको भए चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ रिलिजन, हाम्रो कल्चर कहाँ पुग्थ्यो होला. सो आर्ट र कल्चरको चाहिँ एजुकेसन अलिकति नपुगेको भनेको होला. पिपल डोन्ट अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड द्याट दे आर नट जस्ट बाइङ अ पिस अफ आर्ट, दे आर प्रोटेक्टिङ देयर कल्चर भन्ने चाहिँ यो एजुकेसन चाहिँ गयो भने चाहिँ नि I think there will be more patrons. So one thing that we've started to do in Monama चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ के, so we created a small organization. It's called SAP, Society of Art Patrons. So we are now creating patrons. So हामीले चाहिँ नि how are we creating patrons भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि we've identified about 150 people who are going to be successful in another 5 to 10 years. So these 100 to 150 people who we've selected are young people like you and I. I'm not that young, but like you guys. I'm 52. So these people have decided to stay back in Nepal. Struggle it out, and they've got the small companies here and there that they're working, and we are introducing art to them. Okay? So we don't expect them to start buying art right away, but if we start introducing them to art today, in 5 to 10 years time, when they become millionaires, they will start buying art.
Yeah,
that is where we need to start. So that was a very long-term vision of how we said, because I got sick and tired of trying to tell people, especially the rich people, why is art important? Art किन्नु पर्छ. I say art के किन्नु, art किन्नु म रोलेक्सहरु किन्छु भन्ने मान्छेहरु पनि छन्. हैन. So I got fed up with that aspect. So I said, let's try this. Because these are the people who stayed back to Nepal when I said they have some love for their country, for their culture, for their heritage. But उनलाई चाहिँ बिस्तारै चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ आर्टलाई इन्ट्रोड्युस गर्यो भने चाहिँ another 5 to 10 years they'll start buying art, they'll become patrons. We will give them so realistically भन्दाखेरि पनि चाहिँ yes, आज चाहिँ नि हामीले चाहिँ आर्ट किन्यो भने चाहिँ another 5 to 10 years मा चाहिँ the art value त definitely बढी हुन्छ. So it's a good investment for you as well.
यसमा पनि अब like there's a small thin line that we need to always manage के फेरि दाइ. It's like you can't just start commodifying it. Like promote गर्ने भन्दैमा हामीले commodify गर्न थाल्यो भने that's exactly where it loses its value फेरि. त्यो पनि हुन्छ के दाइ. त्यसले गरेर चाहिँ when you're going about it, how you depicting it भन्ने चाहिँ is a big part of it. हुन्छ नि दाइ. Like because alternate asset class भनेर Like for example, let's talk in finance sense यसमा हैन त अब you look at gold silverहरू मान्छेले किन्छ नि but actually if you look at the long term graph of it it's not really like commodity मा पैसा हाल्नु भनेको त्यस्तो lucrative हुँदैन the only reason why people why they do it is because it offers diversification to
And
a certain
it's a
level.
safer bet too.
Right.
That's what people think.
Right, हजुर. So this is no one's saying art should be your biggest money maker and you're gonna be like हुन्छ नि 10xing on your returns with art, but it's an alternate asset class which moves very different to how the market moves. हुन्छ नि of course some market forces ले गरेर इस्यु नै हुन्छ लाइक अहिले लिक्विडिटी क्राइसिस छ सबै पैसै छैन भनेपछि everything's distressed त्यो त्यस्तो त छ but like it's very moves very different to other assets okay so just to hedge your bets पनि it makes some sense like internationally.
Yeah. I'll come to the international market. कस्तो इन्ट्रेस्टिङ भयो कि यो कन्भर्सेसन के भयो भने मैले I'm reflecting back on the things that I have here के होइन जता जाँदाखेरि पनि होइन I'm lucky होइन I'm 35 years old and I've traveled a bit होइन अनि एटलिस्ट देश पनि अलिकति देख्न पाएको छु होइन जता गए पनि केही न केही ल्याउँ जस्तो मैले अघि नै सुरुमा भनेको थिएँ नि होइन I bought this काली इन पाटन के
Okay.
मैले 2000 रुपियाँ खर्च गरेँ जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई होइन मैले हिँडिरहेको थिएँ मैले देखेँ मैले अर्डर गरेँ म भोलिपल्ट गएर मैले पिक गरेँ होइन यो अर्कै कलरमा थियो मैले यो कलर चाहिँ चेन्ज गरिदिनुहोस् ल भनेर भनेँ होइन मैले 2000 रुपियाँ तिरेको थिएँ होइन पछि गएर पनि मलाई ठ्याक्कै थाहा छ मैले कहाँबाट किने हो भनेर प्याटर्नमा होइन पछि गएर मैले अरू केही देखेँ भने म त्यही ठाउँमा गएर किन्छु अब आई हेभ अ कनेक्सन विथ द्याट प्लेस एन्ड द्याट पर्सन होइन सो मलाई अब ढुङ्गाको केही चाहिएको छ भने होइन म जहिले पनि त्यही ठाउँमा गएर किन्छु त्यो पनि एउटा त्यो कनेक्सन हुँदो रहेछ कि त्यो जस्ट सेङ होइन अब आई बट द ग्रिन तारा होइन त्यो देख्ने बित्तिकै मलाई मन पऱ्यो म यो ठाउँमा गएर मैले लगभग भयो होला 6-7 वर्ष म एउटै ठाउँमा गएर त्यो किनिरहेको सामान होइन सो यो देख्ने बित्तिकै मलाई ओके यसलाई अलिकति क्लिन गरिदिनुहोस् रिटच गरिदिनुहोस् अनि पठाइदिनुहोस् भनेर होइन अफकोर्स आई कुड हेभ बट a metal one, but I didn't have money to buy a metal one. And I saw this and I bought this. It's a clay made. So त्यो एउटा त्यो कनेक्सन पनि हुनु एकदम जरुरी छ जस्तो लाग्यो क्या मलाई when you're buying something. Of course, you have to connect with what art you're buying, and also मलाई चाहिँ personally I have to connect with the artist who I'm buying it from. यो हाम्रोमा कतिको हुन्छ हजुरले अघि नै भन्नुभयो नि होइन लाइक वी हेभ 15-20 पिपल लेट्स से 7 people that's what you said who will buy things not more than 7 in a country of 3 crores.
3 crores. It's sad.
15-20 who actually have a crazy amount of money. We all know that this country is poor, but the people are not poor at all. So 15-20 will buy art. No more than that. Then, of course, it's going to go to the Chinese and it's going to go to probably the Indians and probably the Americans and probably the Europeans. It's not going to stay here at all. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Like, how do we differentiate it?
Art definitely needs to travel.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
It has to go. अब सबै नेपालमा मात्रै राख्ने भनेर त्यसको मतलब पनि भएन जति आर्टलाई चाहिँ एक्सपोज हुन्छ जति ट्राभल गर्छ हाम्रो आर्ट त्यति नै फेमस भएर आउँछ सो तर जस्तै कि चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ मोनामा चाहिँ नि सम अफ द आर्ट वर्क्स द्याट इज इन मोना आई एक्चुली बट इट ब्याक फ्रम चाइना फ्रम जापान एन्ड फ्रम डेनमार्क.
Hold on, what do you mean by bought it back?
Because it was already gone there. But this artwork was so important. And that piece of art, the artist will never make again. So I gave double the price of what the Chinese had bought. And I bought it back to Nepal because I wanted the Nepalese people to see it. So there's actually the green Tara, it came from, that is in Mona, by Samudra. It came back from China. I bought it back from China. I bought it back from the Chinese buyer because I wanted it for the museum. Because that is the pride of Nepal, okay? And there's one Buddha ko Chinese, there's a 6 series of painting which was created in the 40s or the 50s. I bought it back from Copenhagen. There's one statue that was supposed to go to Fukuoka Art Museum. It was already sold to Fukuoka Art Museum, and it was going to go there. I begged the art museum. I said, like, please don't take this. I will pay you how much ever you want, I'll pay you, and please let it stay in Nepal because I'm putting it in a museum. And the guy said, if you're putting it in a museum, you can have it, but if you're तिमीले चाहिँ आफ्नो पर्सनल चाहिँ घरमा राख्ने हो भने चाहिँ इट इज गोइङ टु जापान भनेर भनेको थियो. सो यी आर्टवर्कहरू चाहिँ नि यदि चाहिँ नि इभन मोनामा चाहिँ नि अहिले चाहिँ नि जुन आर्टवर्कहरू छ यदि मोना नभएको भए चाहिँ नि यु वुड हेभ नेभर सिन दिस आर्टवर्क. Nepalese people would have never seen this artwork.
Let me ask you something. For international, we'll talk about it in a while. होइन हाम्रै कतिजना साथीहरूको घरमा आर्टवर्क छ होला,
छ,
पुरानै होला,
Valuable ones.
एकदमै भ्यालुबल पनि होला,
of course.
होइन. Can you bring that out and put it in the museum? Can you ask them? Will they ever give it?
It depends on them. If they, I've had quite a lot of couple of these collectors. They say like, at any time you are doing an exhibition and you want my art to be displayed at the museum, we can loan you once.
के हो, मैले विदेशको यही सुनेको थिएँ कि होइन, विदेशमा हुने मेजोरिटी आर्ट कसै न कसैले लोन गरेको हुँदो रहेछ कि कसै न कसैले दिएको हुँदो रहेछ म्युजियमलाई, होइन. मेक मी अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड के छ घरमा, के होला.
You can, I'm like, काठमाडौँमा चाहिँ धेरै छ. I don't know about काठमाडौँ बाहिरको गाउँहरूमा चाहिँ, because a lot of the stuff has been passed on from generations to generations. होइन, अब तपाईँको चाहिँ नि कसैको घरमा चाहिँ नि मैले चाहिँ नि 17th centuryको चाहिँ आर्टवर्कहरू देखेको, 17th centuryको स्ट्याचुजहरू देखेको छ, which has been passed on from family to family. So amazing artworkहरू छ. अनि
just trying to understand कि
stone, copper, paintings, धेरै चिजहरू छ. तर कसो पनि हुँदो रहेछ भने चाहिँ नि most of these people don't even know or the value of that art. किन भन्छ धेरै जस्तो चाहिँ यस्तो आर्टवर्क कहाँ बस्छ भन्छ नि पूजा कोठामा बसेर हुन्छ कि. It doesn't stay in a living room or it doesn't stay in an office. It stays in the पूजा कोठा. अब पूजा कोठा भनेको चाहिँ it's like अघि त the first museum is the पूजा कोठा है. हामीले चाहिँ नि because the day that you are born you are introduced to a museum actually. पूजा कोठा हो. सो धेरै जस्तो चाहिँ स्पेसली चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ नेवारहरूको पूजा कोठामा चाहिँ धेरै चिजहरू छ. अब अफकोर्स इट्स पार्ट
It's part of the home, it's part of the culture.
या तर चाहिँ नेवारको पूजा कोठामा चाहिँ भएको चिजहरू चाहिँ बाहिर चाहिँ निकाल्दैन.
Okay.
बिकज त्यो चाहिँ नि अब अफकोर्स सर्टन थिङ्सहरू चाहिँ देखाउनुहुन्छ, सर्टन चिजहरू चाहिँ देखाउनु हुँदैन भनेर चाहिँ दे आर लट अफ सोसियल नर्म्स.
Okay.
होइन, त्यस कारण चाहिँ त्यो निस्किँदैन होला. तर चाहिँ नि त्यो निस्किनु पर्ने पनि जरुरत पनि छैन. मैले भनेको इट क्यान बी देयर, इट्स एक्चुअली प्रोटेक्टेड देयर, इट इज प्रिजर्भ देयर.
Exactly, it's preserved even more.
या इट्स प्रिजर्भ इभन मोर. होइन, तर वी डु सी अब कहिले काहीँ चाहिँ आई थिङ्क इन ड्युरिङ द 70s and the 80s नेपालबाट बाहिर चाहिँ नि धेरै आर्टवर्कहरू चाहिँ नि बाहिर गएको छ, पुरानो आर्टवर्कहरू. सो इफ यु गो टु एनी इन्टरनेसनल म्युजियम इन द वर्ल्ड देयर इज अलवेज अ सेक्सन अफ नेपाल, अलवेज. बिकज यु क्यान नेभर आर्ट हिस्ट्रीमा चाहिँ नि हामी ह्युम्यानिटीको आर्ट हिस्ट्रीमा चाहिँ नि यु क्यान नेभर इग्नोर नेपाल. It's one of the most important part of any museum in the world. बुद्धिज्म त यहीँबाट आएको हो नि. संसारको चाहिँ जति पनि चाहिँ नि बुद्धिस्ट डेटिजहरू छ जहाँ पनि जे भने इट्स अल बिन इन्सपायर्ड थ्रु नेपाल, इट्स अल इन्सपायर्ड थ्रु द भ्याली, इदर थ्रु लुम्बिनी ओर थ्रु द काठमाडौँ भ्याली. भनेपछि चाहिँ नि वर्ल्डमा चाहिँ नि जति पनि आर्ट बुद्धिज्म रिलेटेड आर्टहरू गएको छ इट्स अल इन्सपायर्ड बाई काठमाडौँ. इभन टिल टुडे इफ यु वान्ट टु मेक एनी मोनास्ट्री anywhere in the world, the main deity that stays in the monastery has to come from Patan.
Wow.
Has to come
I
from
didn't know
Patan.
this.
Yes. It has to come from Patan.
Anywhere in the world.
संसारको चाहिँ जुनसुकै चाहिँ तपाईले चाहिँ मोनास्ट्री खोल्नुहोस्, मेन deity has to come from Patan.
यो थाहा थिएन मलाई.
यस्तो चीजहरु हामी कहाँ छ.
Is this for like different हाम्रो Vajrayana
any sect,
उसको पनि or
any sect. Any sect. It has to come. अरु चाहिँ देउता चाहिँ नि चाइनाबाट बनाएर चाहिँ जहाँबाट बनाएर ल्याउनु के मतलब भन्नु. जति ठुलो जति सानो भयो भने चाहिँ मेन देउता चाहिँ पाटनबाटै आउनुपर्छ. अनि मात्रै चाहिँ त्यो मोनास्ट्रीको चाहिँ अस्तित्व बन्छ.
संसारैभरि यो थाहा थिएन.
यस्तो चीजहरु हाम्रो देशमा हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ नेपालको of course we have Mount Everest, we have the temples, we have the culture. Hamro, one of the unique selling point is the art तर हामीले कहिले पनि चाहिँ आर्टलाई चाहिँ क्यापिटलाइज गर्न सकेन साँच्चै नै भन्ने हो भने चाहिँ नि होल वर्ल्डकै चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ स्पिरिचुअल आर्टको चाहिँ हबै काठमाडौँ हुनुपर्ने हो क्या
प्रिजर्भ कसरी भयो समय सोद्धाखेरि कि होइन यत्रो वर्षदेखि यति धेरै लडाइँ भयो झगडा भयो मैले अहिलेको द्वन्द्वकालको कुरा गरेकै होइन यो 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 90s को कुरा गरेकै होइन मैले होइन आइ एम टकिङ अबाउट दोज थाउजन्ड्स अफ इयर्स होइन हाउ डिड वी प्रिजर्भ एभ्रिथिङ वाट डु यु थिङ्क रियली ह्यापन के किनभने हामीले त प्रिजर्भ गरेर राख्यो युरोप त कम्प्लिटली भत्क्यायो वर्ल्ड वारमा 1मा पनि 2मा पनि कम्प्लिटली डिस्ट्रोय नै भयो युरोप होइन अफकोर्स इन्डियाजकै कुरा गर्ने हो भने पनि अफकोर्स दे प्रिजर्भ अ लट अफ थिङ्स डिडन्ट गेट प्रिजर्भ होइन हाम्रोमा हाउ वर वी सो लकी द्याट वी वर एबल टु प्रिजर्भ इट के
I think one of the biggest reason was our art was always connected with spirituality and religion. हाम्रो मन्दिरहरू त कहिले पनि भत्किएन मन्दिरहरूमा पनि भित्र चाहिँ जुन चाहिँ बसिरहेको देवतादेखि लिएर मन्दिरहरूदेखि लिएर त्यसको चाहिँ स्क्रोल्सहरू त्यसको टेक्स्टहरू सबै चाहिँ इट वाज देयर इट वाज अ पार्ट अफ आवर रिलिजन सो द्याट इज वान अफ द रिजन्स द्याट इट वाज अलवेज प्रोटेक्टेड द्याट वी वर एबल टु प्रिजर्भ इट बिकज वी पास इट अन डाउन टु द नेक्स्ट जेनेरेसन्स होइन त्यो आई थिङ्क द्याट इज वान अफ द बिगेस्ट रिजन्स द्याट वी वर एबल टु प्रिजर्भ इट
द वे यु सेड इट के अघि नै होइन पूजा कोठामा बस्छ त्यसै कारण हामीले प्रिजर्भ गर्यो द्याट्स सो ट्रु
पूजा कोठा सो हाम्रो मोनामा चाहिँ नि वी हेभ अ स्मल इन्स्टलेसन पूजा कोठाको इन्स्टलेसन छ कि एउटा चाहिँ नेवारको घरको चाहिँ नि पूजा कोठा कस्तो हुन्छ भनेर चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ देखाएको छ अनि द वे द्याट आई एक्सप्लेन द इम्पोर्टेन्स अफ आँगन द इम्पोर्टेन्स अफ पूजा कोठा इज त्यो पूजा कोठाको भित्र चाहिँ देउता बस्ने होइन पूजा कोठा भनेको द्याट इज द फर्स्ट स्कुल द्याट इज द फर्स्ट युनिभर्सिटी स्कुल र युनिभर्सिटी चाहिँ नि हाम्रो चाहिँ आएको कति नै वर्ष भयो र 100, 200, 300 वर्ष भयो यतिका हजारौँ वर्षसम्म चाहिँ नि हाउ डिड वी ट्रान्सफर द नलेज टु द नेक्स्ट जेनेरेसन अन हाउ टु बिकम अ ह्युमन पर्सन अ ह्युम्यानिटी हाउ टु बी कम्प्यासनेट इट वाज अल टट इनसाइड अफ पूजा कोठा बिहान चाहिँ नि तपाईँको चाहिँ नि बजेले बाउले चाहिँ नि आफ्नो बच्चाहरूलाई त्यहाँ लगेर चाहिँ नि भगवान्लाई प्रार्थना गर्नुपर्छ यु हेभ टु बी अ गुड पर्सन अदरवाइज यु विल गो टु हेल यु सुड नट हर्ट अदर पिपल सो पूजा कोठा इज द क्लासरुम पूजा कोठा इज द रिजन द्याट टुडे वी आर ह्युमन बिङ्स द्याट टुडे वी आर कम्प्यासनेट बिकज द्याट इज वाट वाज टट स्कुलहरूमा चाहिँ सिकाउने भनेको त रिसेन्टली तर हाउ डिड वी इभल्भ टु बिकम human beings till today how did we evolve to become the superior living form is because the education and the importance of puja kotha ho ke so puja kotha ma chahi tyo deota basne hoina puja kotha was that was the importance
wow so interesting होइन यो कुरा चाहिँ मलाई आई हेभ टु से दिस टु एभ्रीबडी आई वाज मिनिङ टु से इट टु यर ड्याड होइन बट अफकोर्स युआर द राइट पर्सन टु से इट टु के ब्याक इन द डे आई स्टेड एट मलाई लागेको थियो कि त्यो म जहाँ बसेको थिएँ होइन काठमाडौँ गेस्ट हाउस 2009मा त्यो चाहिँ सबसे सस्तो के भन्छ त्यसलाई रुम हो भनेर होइन तर होइन रहेछ सो द मोस्ट सरी सो द लिस्ट एक्सपेन्सिभ रुम वाज फर
$2 till 2015
$2 till 2015 so
1968 देखि So 1968 ma chani that is when Kathmandu guest house first started.
Yeah.
With 4 rooms.
Yeah.
That's before I was born, and we started with 4 rooms, and my whole family used to live there.
Yeah.
My father, my mother, my uncle, my aunt, my whole family used to live there in Kathmandu guest house, and that's when we started as a hotel. So Kathmandu guest house today is the flagship company of the KGS group. And of course, we still are a joint family. My father is still the founding president. My brother is the president. And I'm the CEO. And of course, we also have the younger generation. My sister is there, my niece. They are also looking part of the bigger Kathmandu KGS group. Kathmandu Guest House is the seed of whoever we are today. So Kathmandu Guest House was, till today, is not just a hotel. It's not just a place where I do business. It's my temple. I literally call it my temple. I still live there. I still live in Kathmandu Guest House myself. I've been living there since 2001, 2002 till now, and I don't want to move out of there because for me, even Kathmandu Guest House, till today we don't have a general manager. I actually look into all the operations, although we have such a big business for KGH, I still look into the operations of
Yeah.
every little aspect. The garden weapon, you're a plant ropen weapon, my gardener is not allowed to take away or even trim a tree without my instruction. And today, whoever we are today is all because of the Kathmandu guest house. My father, his sweat and his blood went into making of that. And my brother also looked after it in the mid 80s till the 90s, and I've been looking after it since 2001. I've been in the tourism field for now 30 years. After I graduated from the US in 1995 till now, I've been. Ani Kathmandu guest house ko चाहिँ नि, I mean, like before, like right now, most of the people don't even know how Tamil started. Kathmandu guest house was the first hotel in Tamil.
Yeah.
And when Kathmandu guest house was, when we started with the hotel, it was basically all farmland. के पनि थिएन त्यहाँ
खेतै खेत थियो.
खेतै खेत हैन. अनि चाहिँ नि I still remember the story my dad tells me is पहिला त हामी त असनमा बस्थ्यो. अनि असनबाट चाहिँ नि when my grandfather bought Kathmandu guest house.
Just a sec. Set him up, aligati, slightly. Set him up, aligati. Just a sec. I'm sorry. Set him up. Slightly. Aligati bit chiraunch sir हजुरलाई. Aligati so that your microphone.
Better?
Yeah, much better. So asanma
चाहिँ नि, that is where, I mean, like this is before I was born. So whatever I'm telling you is the stories that I've been fed.
yeah.
So त्यो टाइममा चाहिँ नि when my grandfather bought the property, I think late 50s, early 60s मा किन्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि my grandmother made a huge hue and cry. त्यस्तो टाढा चाहिँ नि तिमीले चाहिँ त्यो गाउँको खेतमा चाहिँ के किन्न गएको, के किनेको यो
त्यो पनि
काठमाडौँ
त्यो समयमा 36,000 हो कि 40,000 त्यस्तो कति
something
खर्च
like
गरेर.
that, something like that, हैन. अनि so my and the story that my father still tells all of us is my grandfather told my grandmother, एक दिन कुरा यही चिज चाहिँ हेरा हुन्छ भनेर भन्थ्यो कि, it'll become a diamond in time भनेर चाहिँ नि. Of course, to make it into diamond, my dad had to a lot of work that he did to polish that diamond to make it whatever it was today. So a lot of the people right now also, when they come to Tamil and they see all the vibrant Tamil, they see the economic Tamil, they see all the bars, the restaurant, people have forgotten that it was the Kathmandu guest house that kind of initiated the whole process of what Tamil is today.
Of course, no doubt on that.
Right? And so, of course, Kathmandu guest house, we started with 4 rooms, then slowly we increased it. Today we got about 135 rooms today. And still going through all that for 52 years, we are still there. We are still quite prominent. People do recognize us for what we've done as a family, what my father had done back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and how we are evolving to make it even better. So also again, I do come back to the museum as well. So when I decided to make the museum, because I could have made the museum anywhere, didn't have to be in Kathmandu guest house.
Yeah.
But on the Kheritsani, we wanted to kind of redefine Tamil, not only as a place to party or not only as a place, because Kathmandu guest house became very famous because it started being known as the gateway to the Himalayas. Because all the expeditions that came in the 70s, 80s, 90s on the hills, and Kathmandu guest house was busted. So that is one of the reasons that it became very, very famous. Is all the expeditions would come, whenever they come to Kathmandu guest house बस्थ्यो.
There's a saying, Kathmandu आयो भने Tamil जानुपर्छ, Tamil गयो भने Kathmandu guest house मा बस्नै पर्छ भनेर. It's the saying.
Yeah, it's kind of become a landmark.
Yeah.
हैन. अब चाहिँ Tamilमा जाँदाखेरि पनि चाहिँ कहाँ भेट्ने भन्दाखेरि ए काठमाडौँ गेस्ट हाउसको गेटतिर यता आयो भने that is where people normally meet. So it's become a landmark. And so when we created the museum, so on Tamil becoming now a very vibrant place, a party place, restaurant, bars, shops, now Tamil पनि चाहिँ एउटा intellectual site पनि दिउँ न. When I said that is why we actually created the museum inside the Kathmandu guest house. Now it has become like an art hub, because now we have the museum, we have the art house. So if there are any people who have any kind of inclination or love for art, they say, okay, Kathmandu guest house त्यहाँ museum पनि छ, museum पनि हेर्न पाउँछ, त्यहाँ आर्टिस्टहरुको स्टुडियोहरु पनि छ, त्यहाँ पनि हेर्न पाउँछ भनेर चाहिँ. So now all the artists have started to congregate in that area. And my dream was also कि चाहिँ नि जुन 7 घुम्ती एरिया हो त्यसलाई पनि चाहिँ नि नेपालको चाहिँ फर्स्ट आर्ट स्ट्रिट बनाउने भनेर चाहिँ नि द्याट इज हाउ वी वान्टेड टु प्रमोट द्याट प्लेस भोलि गएर चाहिँ नि हामीले चाहिँ आर्ट हाउस बनाए अनि चाहिँ नि नेक्स्ट टाइम इफ एनी ग्यालरिस्ट वान्ट टु मेक अ ग्यालरी or open up a gallery, they would automatically come there. किनभने चाहिँ द्याट इज बिकमिङ नाउ द आर्ट एरिया भने चाहिँ त्यो थमेलको चाहिँ नि 7 घुम्ती एरियालाई पनि चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ नि एउटा चाहिँ आर्ट स्ट्रिटको हिसाबमा चाहिँ किन डेभलप नगर्ने भने चाहिँ त्यसलाई पनि चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ इन्टेलेक्चुअल एन्टरटेनमेन्ट बिकज आर्ट हेज टु डु विथ एन्टरटेनमेन्ट एन्ड अल्सो इन्टेलेक्चुअलिटी एज वेल सो त्यसलाई पनि चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ लेट्स ट्राई टु मेक थमेल अ होलिस्टिक प्लेस भनेर चाहिँ नि सो द्याट इज अल्सो वान अफ द रिजन्स द्याट वी क्रिएटेड मोना इन थमेल इन काठमाडौँ गेस्ट हाउस बिकज अफकोर्स थमेल हेज द हाइएस्ट फुटफल अनि चाहिँ नि म्युजियमको लागि मात्रै भनेर चाहिँ मान्छेहरू चाहिँ जाँदैन बट थमेलमा भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि अफकोर्स दे विल हेभ द्याट अनि काठमाडौँ गेस्ट हाउस अल्सो आई थिङ्क इज नाउ द ओन्ली 6th or the 7th होटल इन द वर्ल्ड to have a museum inside a hotel.
Interesting. Tell me something. जसले सुनिरहेछ नि अहिले होइन अघि नै हजुरले भन्नुभयो नि 90% of the people who come to your museum are foreigners, 10% नेपाली होइन. How do we increase that? What would you want to say to the listeners who want to come and see the museum? कसैलाई हेर्नु मन छ अरे म्युजियम होइन त्यो अफकोर्स हुन्छ कि एउटा थट प्रोसेस छ कि पाँच तारे होटलमा जाउँ कि नजाउँ भन्ने हुन्छ कि एउटा त्यो आज पनि छ त्यो पछि पनि हुन्छ होला होइन what would you want to say to people who are like okay it's very easily accessible भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ what would you like to say to them?
यसमा चाहिँ नि what I would like to say is and also the reason अघि पनि कुरा गर्दाखेरि पनि is the Museum of Living Artists. 21st century को नेपालीहरूको contribution to our nation is what? What are we? If I ask any Nepali today, what are you proud of? They will say, okay, Nepal, proud of matri भनेको चाहिँ how do you introduce your country गर्दाखेरि this is the country of Mount Everest, this is the country of temples. तर हाम्रो जेनेरेसनले चाहिँ हाम्रो देशलाई अहिलेसम्म के दिएको छ? And this is what I wanted this museum to be. So whenever I tell people this is, yes, the space is mine. The space belongs to the Kathmandu guest house. But the art inside is ours. हाम्रो जेनेरेसनको चाहिँ नि बेस्ट प्रडक्ट निस्केको हो क्या भनेपछि दिस इज आवर प्राइड दिस इज आवर कन्ट्रिब्युसन हाम्रो जेनेरेसनको चाहिँ कन्ट्रिब्युसन हो त्यो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि एटलिस्ट नेपालीज पिपल ओ पिपल हु आर लुकिङ फर अ रिजन टु कम टु द म्युजियम दिस लाइक ओ वाट इज इट द्याट टुमोरो हाम्रो जेनेरेसन चाहिँ रिप्रेजेन्ट गर्ने कुरा के हो र लेट्स गो ह्याभ अ लुक I want art to be a conversation. Yeah? Art not just to be a lot of people think like, oh, art is only for the rich, which is very wrong. You know? Art is, of course, acquired by the rich, but art is not for the rich. Art has become famous. Any art, why didn't Mona Lisa become famous? It's not because millions of people are looking
Everybody
at
has
it.
access to Mona Lisa.
Exactly. You know? The accessibility दिने हो क्या भोलि गएर चाहिँ नि तपाईँहरूले पनि चाहिँ नि when you bring a foreign guest, now you'll bring to Mona, okay? Because now you want to show if you want to meet the artist, I have the connection. Pride bhai ni. So when people come into the museum, I want them to feel I want them to feel proud. Okay? Mount Everest त मैले बनाएको हैन तपाईले बनाएको हैन. Just nature. स्वयम्भू बौद्धनाथ पशुपति न तपाईले बनाएको न मैले बनाएको हाम्रो हजारौं वर्ष अगाडि चाहिँ नि कसले बनाएर चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ छाडेर गएको त्यो पनि चाहिँ हामीले मेन्टेन गर्न सकेको छैन. So we are becoming proud of something that we have not created. Let's be proud of something that we have created. Our generation has created. Our spiritual art is something that has been passed on for thousands of years. Contemporary art is a representation of who we are right now. भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि म्युजियम भित्र आउँदाखेरि चाहिँ त्यहाँ चाहिँ नि एउटा कन्भर्सेसन हुन्छ हैन सो जस्ट लाइक I tell people why come to the museum. I said you can either come alone, you can come with a family, you can bring your girlfriend, you can bring your wife. And museum is a place where you don't talk to each other, but yet you would have said to each other so much more. Because you look at something with awe. You look at something and you say like, you know, you have a different mindset, no? The different type of conversation. भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ यसलाई चाहिँ नि हामीले चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ इन्टेलेक्चुअल हिसाबमा क्वालिटी फ्यामिलीको क्वालिटी टाइमको हिसाबमा चाहिँ नि यसलाई चाहिँ लग्यो भने चाहिँ नि देन पिपल विल स्टार्ट कमिङ टु द म्युजियम दे विल स्टार्ट रियलाइजिङ वाट इट इज
How much does it cost?
टु कम टु द म्युजियम
Yeah.
500 rupees
500 rupees.
for adults and I think for students it's about 50% off
Okay.
so it's about 250 and यो कुरा पनि चाहिँ नि मलाई चाहिँ धेरैजना मान्छेले भन्थ्यो कि आर्ट हेर्नलाई पनि चाहिँ नि म चाहिँ पैसा तिरेर जाने होइन म्युजियममा चाहिँ आर्ट हेर्नलाई पनि पैसा तिरेर इभन द आर्टिस्ट कम्युनिटीले पनि चाहिँ नि म्युजियम खोल्दाखेरि चाहिँ को आउँछ पैसा तिरेर चाहिँ को हेर्न आउँछ भनेर भन्थ्यो कि आई सेड इफ यु कान्ट पे 500 rupees to come and see your own art culture and heritage I said then don't come I tell don't come if you think it's expensive then don't come I said शाहरुख खानको चाहिँ नि फिल्म हेर्नलाई चाहिँ नि 1000 रुपियाँ चाहिँ खर्च गरेर चाहिँ नि न त्यो मान्छेले चाहिँ हाम्रो कल्चरको बारे कुरा गरेर आएको छ न उसले नेपाली हो न के हो उसको लागि चाहिँ 1000 रुपियाँ चाहिँ खर्च गरेर चाहिँ नि फिल्म हेर्न जान सक्छ अनि चाहिँ आफ्नै कल्चरलाई चाहिँ हेर्नलाई चाहिँ यदि इफ द्याट पर्सन फाइन्ड्स इट एक्सपेन्सिभ टु कम आई सेड डोन्ट कम because it's a museum, it's a private museum. We have our costs. We have to maintain the standard. The way that when we first made the museum, I wanted to compete with any museum in the world. I wanted to make it into that quality. कि चाहिँ संसारको चाहिँ जुनसुकै सहरको चाहिँ बेस्ट म्युजियमसँग चाहिँ हामी कम्पिट गर्ने एस्थेटिक वाइज लाइटिङ वाइज इन्भाइरोमेन्ट वाइज त्यहाँ म्युजियममा चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ 24 hours एसी चल्छ ह्युमिडिफायर चल्छ The AC and the humidifier is not for the people, it's for the art.
Yeah.
So that we protect the art. And if people think that it's expensive, I don't come.
So it's 500 and for students it's 250.
Yeah. And during exhibitions, we have special exhibitions. Sometimes we make the prices a little less when there are like special exhibitions happening in the museum.
I want to say this to everybody that I've been to your museum and it's very accessible. I know, Tomelu, I know it's very accessible. You can park anywhere, and I suggest my listeners to at least go and check it out at least once. I know, हुन्छ कि एउटा माइन्डसेट हुन्छ कि टु बी भेरी अनेस्ट हुन्छ नि जाउँ कि नजाउँ एक्लै जाउँ कि कोसँग जाउँ कि भन्ने हुन्छ कि होइन विदेशमा चाहिँ हामी मजाले जान्छौँ म्युजियम फेरि एक्लै भए पनि गएको छु म मजाले गएको छु होइन टिकटै काटेर गएको छु होइन सो अफकोर्स यहाँ पनि आई रेकमेन्ड एभ्रीबडी टु गो एन्ड गिभ इट अ सर्ट Bishesh, what was your thought process when Sir came and told you that we're starting this? What did you think? You were in your teenage at the time, slightly?
No, this is like just a couple of years
Couple of years ago.
Couple
Okay.
of years
I don't
ago.
even know how old you are now. I always think you are like
26,
23. I always think you are 23.
Thank you. Me, I'm 26.
Okay, you're not a teenager at that time. What did you think at that time?
यस्तो थियो दाइ अब मलाई त आइम जस्ट सुपर प्यासनेट अबाउट फाइनेन्स कि होइन अब फाइनेन्स गर्ने बेला पनि द वे पिपल भ्यू फाइनेन्स दो इज अलवेज लाइक सुपर भ्याल्यु एक्सट्र्याक्सन बिजनेस हो यो हुन्छ नि दाइ बट इफ राम्ररी गऱ्यो भने त भ्याल्यु क्रिएसन साइड पनि त आयो नि त यसको दाइ होइन अलट लाइक फेसिलिटेसन इज अ बिग पार्ट अफ इट सो अल्सो हाम्रो जहिले पनि नेपालमा भन्नु वर्किङ इन द बिजनेस or anything, it's like always we're catering to the demand for anything that we do. And so we're not something enticing is creating demand. And so जहिले पनि अब रेस्टुरेन्ट गऱ्यो मान्छे आउँछ आउँदैन गरेर गऱ्यो or like any type of business गऱ्यो जहिले पनि like बाहिर के छ त्यो मोडल कपी गरौँ जस्तो टाइपको मात्रै भयो नि त दाइ बट especially like also working in the venture capital space and this सबै गरिसकेपछि चाहिँ it's like this is something enticing. It's creating demand and this also creates value. So like I was like, yeah, let's do it. It's super fun, something super new. केही थाहा छैन but yeah, we'll do it.
I had a lot of objection when I wanted to open the museum.
Objection from?
From the family.
Yeah, okay.
The biggest fight is always
Always
with the
with the
family.
family.
It's always with the family. And but I had confidence. The reason that I had I'm like right now objection in the sense of course my father, he's very protective and of what we do and all the stuff. And he said like, you're going into art business. That's what he thought first. When I said I wanted to make a museum, I said, you're going into art business. No, nagarni, nadini. I convinced him. I really convinced him. And he said like, okay, I said, give me 2 years. Just give me 2 years. If I'm not successful in what I'm trying to do, I'll shut it down. And then he gave me the confidence. And today I think he's very proud because I do see him in his social media always talking about what we are trying to do. But in the beginning, he thought like I was going to be an art dealer. Ma art kinne, and ma art becne, and yesto huन्थ्यो के. And I said, then when I was trying to convince him was, today we are in the hospitality business. We own a number of hotels. For the past 30 years, when I'm being in the business, in tourism, म चाहिँ विदेशमा जाँदाखेरि मार्केटिङ गर्न जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ नेपाल आऊ त्यहाँ चाहिँ हिमाल छ त्यहाँ चाहिँ काठमाडौँमा बस्नुपर्छ काठमाडौँमा चाहिँ कल्चर छ यो छ त्यो छ भनेर चाहिँ द्याट इज वाट वी युज टु प्रमोट नेपाल एज अनि भोलि गएर चाहिँ नि काठमाडौँमा चाहिँ नि कल्चर नै भएन भने चाहिँ नि वाट डु वी इभन टेल द पिपल टु कम एन्ड स्टे इन काठमाडौँ फर सो इभन इन अर्डर टु प्रोटेक्ट आवर बिजनेस फर द फ्युचर द रिटेन्सन of our culture is equally important. And I think he was able to understand what I was trying to do. And then, of course, my brother and my father, they supported me throughout. And today they support me as well with the museum. And what we are trying to do with the museum is not only for us, of course. There's always a part for us. But it was for the bigger picture.
Let me ask you something. We talked about X amount of money, right? X amount of money. One art can go up to 50 lakhs, a crore, maybe more. Jati pani huna sakcha. It's in the eyes of the beholder. Can't art, any kind of art, precise it can be made out of stone, it can be made out of colors, it can be made out of anything, brass, copper. Are these being sold and bought? Sold, international market ma yati gairachha, we just talked about like a Chinese multi-millionaire coming here and picking something up, for like millions of dollars, let's say. Is that happening, and is that happening through the right channels? What do you think?
It's happening. To give you an example, just before COVID, there was an art sold in China by a Nepali artist, but he sold the art, I think, for 1 lakh rupiah, that particular piece of art. It was sold to a collector, and the collector sold it to a Chinese buyer for $1 million. Literally, $1 million. That is how much that artwork is valued at.
So 1 lakh rupiah Nepali, and त्यसपछि 10 crore. 10 crore भन्दा बेसी भनौँ न 13 crore.
That artwork right now is in China, in Beijing, right now, on sale for $1 million. Now, again, does the artist mind? He doesn't mind. He's more happy that his artwork is actually being sold for $1 million. And when the artist asked for 1 lakh rupiah, he was very happy because at that time, that is how much his artwork is selling for. So he doesn't have... That is the humility of Nepalese artists. त्यो आर्टिस्टले थाहा छ कि चाहिँ सेकेन्डरी मार्केटमा उसको चाहिँ करोडौँ रुपियाँको चाहिँ आर्ट बिकिरहेको छ भनेर थाहा छ तर he is creating even better artworks, and he hasn't raised his price according to what the secondary market is demanding. He's happy with how many. मैले चाहिँ त्यो आर्टिस्ट, because I work with them very closely, I said, यस्तो भइरहेको छ थाहा छ दाइ 15 वर्ष अगाडि त हामी त ठमेलमा चाहिँ नि आर्टवर्कहरू चाहिँ 1000 रुपियाँमा बेच्न जाँदाखेरि पनि चाहिँ हाम्रो आर्टवर्क किन्दैन थियो. आज चाहिँ एटलिस्ट चाहिँ 4-5 लाख रुपियाँ आइरहेको छ दाइ. So we are very happy. That's what they say, literally. Raj Prakash Tuladar, talk to him, he's the artist. Yeah, we have a good collection of his artwork in Nepal, in Mona. Okay,
can't we, हामीले directly artists र buyerसँगको collaboration गराउन सक्दैनौँ जहाँ actually त्यो artistले नै $1 million पाओस्?
Of course, that's what Mona is. मोनामा चाहिँ तपाईं गयो भने चाहिँ you can, any artistहरूको चाहिँ नि त्यहाँ चाहिँ नि his telephone number, his email address is available in the Monako चाहिँ नि website-मा. If you scan the QR code that is in front of every artwork in Mona, you can actually go directly contact the artist themselves. We have nothing to do. I don't want to do art business. I'm not here for art business. So that is the connection that we want. So when we talk about the platform, we give direct connection, the email address, and if you want to commission an artwork to some other one, you talk to him. His phone number you want, I'll give it to you right now. It's available in the Monaco Chinese website. Is available. All the artists that we work with is available, and that is what we wanted to do.
How is the art market? How is the monetary terms of the art market? Asking you, even though you're not into it, buying and selling ko kasto cha ajko dinma 20%.
Certain artists are like there's very high demand. Like I said, like if you want to buy Samudrako artwork 4-5 years, you have to wait. That is also, I'm like, and art is तपाईँले चाहिँ समुद्रलाई चाहिँ मलाई यो आर्ट बनाइदियो भनेर उसले बनाउनुवाला छैन. He'll create what he creates, and if you like it, you buy it, otherwise you don't.
मैले एक्सपोर्ट पर्सपेक्टिभबाट सोचिरहेको छु कि होइन. वी आर एन जस्ट ट्राइङ टु बी भेरी फाइनेन्सियल अन दिस होइन. वी इम्पोर्ट एभ्रिथिङ, अलमोस्ट एभ्रिथिङ होइन. वाट डु वी एक्सपोर्ट, वाट आर वी गिभिङ, वाट आर वी सेन्डिङ आउट अफ दिस कन्ट्री भनेर भन्दाखेरि पाम ओइल आउँछ क्या नम्बर वानमा होइन. त्यो पनि त्यो हामीले पाम ओइल ल्याउँछौँ, रिफाइन गर्छौँ
Refine गरेर चाहिँ मलेसियाबाट आगो refine गरेर चाहिँ पठाउँछ.
होइन. सो त्यो सबैलाई थाहा भएको कुरा हो होइन. सो यु क्यान गेटिङ मी वेयर आई एम गेटिङ इन्टु दिस.
Actually, it would necessarily, like, it would hit a sweet spot really well. किनभने हाम्रो नेपालको इस्युमा, whenever we say, okay, there's something being done in Nepal for economic reasons, first thing, हाम्रो के भन्छ, केही production गर्ने नि स्केलै छैन. That's why we can't have the economies of scale ले गरेर low cost production गर्न सक्दैन भन्ने कुरा आउँछ. त्यो बाहेक अब के टी-सर्ट production गर्ने हो नि चाइनालाई will never be able to beat भन्छ. But with art, there's the difference is it's already a niche business, so you don't have to go all scalable on it. And plus, export अरू ठाउँ पनि हेर्नु पर्दैन. China is what? The third biggest art market in the world right now, and growing. With the wealth, with everything. And with Nepali art, we have geographic indication. Again, with Buddhist art. So, geographic indication, niche market, art market, again. Laws of demand and supply. Rarity le pani brings a lot. And already, Nepal already has that reputation. So, piggybacking on it, it will never be a big part of the economy. And economy नै धान्ने भन्नेको त हुँदैन, but we can be recognized for it. I think so.
So interesting. 800 वर्ष पुरानो हाम्रो मूर्तिहरू होइन, अमेरिका, युरोप गएर के अरे अन्य धेरै एसियाको अन्य धेरै ठाउँमा गएर चाहिँ बिक्यो. अब कसले चोरेर लिएर गयो, कसले के गर्यो होइन. Of course, I know a few friends who are trying to have an organization who are trying to bring it back.
To repatriate.
To talk to the concerned governments or talk to the concerned museums होइन. यो चाहिँ हाम्रो हो, हामीलाई चाहिँ यो चोरेर लिएर गएको हो अथवा यो कतै न कतैबाट चाहिँ ट्राफिक भएको हो, यसलाई चाहिँ फिर्ता ल्याउनु पर्यो भनेर होइन. अब महाकाल हुन सक्ला, भैरव हुन सक्ला होइन. अब अहिले नाम लिनु थाल्यो भने त होइन thousands होइन. How do we bring it back? How do we say that this is ours? यो हाम्रो हो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ what's your thought process in this?
This is actually a very controversial subject. But most of the museums all over the world that has any kind of artifact from Nepal was either stolen or taken.
Stolen or
Taken. Like during the 70s, 80s, the massive tiny exodus of our artifacts was then.
You said this before, and just stopping you right here. अघि नै पनि भन्नुभएको थियो कि 70s, 80s. के भएको थियो 70s, 80s मा? What had really happened in 1780s that you know?
I think one of the things that happened then was tourism. Nepalma, the tourism in Nepal kind of started in the 60s.
Yeah.
Kind of like then in the 80s, it kind of really grew. So whenever tourist comes, they want to take back something from Nepal. It was a souvenir. And at that time, I think the realization was also not there. People were not noticing it because our mandirs are not security, not protection, not education. So a lot of these went back. A lot of these got stolen. And also basically stolen, right? So tens of thousands of artifacts went at that time. And then airport ma pani kasto थियो भन्छ नि, the people at the airport, at the immigrations, at the security, they never knew what it was.
त्यो समयमा
थाहै थिएन. अब पुरानो चिजहरू हो, त्यो ढुङ्गा मात्रै हो, यताबाट त्यसमा एक्सरे मेसिनहरू पनि चाहिँ ढङ्गको थिएन, यताबाट पनि थिएन. सो स्वाइङ गयो थ्रु द एयरपोर्ट, थ्रु डिफ्रेन्ट मिडियाज, थ्रु आर्ट, धेरै चिजबाट गयो. So जति पनि म्युजियम्सहरूमा चाहिँ इट इज अल गन देयर क्या. अब त्यसलाई चाहिँ नि फिर्ता ल्याउनुको लागि चाहिँ नि एउटा कुरा चाहिँ नि हामी पनि के हुनु पऱ्यो भने चाहिँ नि नेपालमा चाहिँ नि अब सपोज भनौँ एउटा चाहिँ नि अमेरिकाको म्युजियमले चाहिँ नि नेपाललाई फिर्ता दियो रे, दिएर हामीले राख्ने कहाँ? फेरि चाहिँ छाउनी म्युजियमको चाहिँ स्टोर रुमभित्र राख्ने? वाट इज द युज अफ इट? इफ अब त्यतिका वर्ष चाहिँ नि त्यो म्युजियमले चाहिँ प्रोटेक्ट गरेर त राखे, संसारमा देखायो त देखायो. तर हामी पनि चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ के बिफोर वी स्टार्ट आस्किङ ब्याक, I've always, because I'm in a couple of the committees of the repatriation, I said before we start asking back our artifacts. हामीले त्यो ठाउँ कहाँ राख्ने भनेर चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ ठाउँ त क्रिएट गर्नु पर्यो. सो यो जस्ट अब अर्को एउटा चाहिँ के भन्छ नि म्युजियम्सहरूमा चाहिँ नि मेबी 10% इज द्याट 90% त पर्सनल प्राइभेट कलेक्टर्सहरूसँग छ.
कसैले घरमा राखिरहेछ.
घरमा राखिरहेको छ लगेछ. अब चाहिँ नि हामीले चाहिँ त्यो स्टोलन भनेर जस्तै कि चाहिँ फर एक्जाम्पल त्यो मग तपाईँको अगाडि भएको मग होइन यु बट इट बट यु डिडन्ट नो इट वाज स्टोलन बट सडनली यु फाइन्ड आउट टुमोरो द्याट इट वाज अ स्टोलन थिङ इन्स्टेड अफ यु रिटर्निङ इट यु रादर थ्रो इट अवे बिकज वाइ वुड यु वान्ट टु भोलि त तपाईँले पो चाहिँ नि स्टिलर भनेर त तपाईँलाई क्याटेगराइज हुन्छ. सो आई सेड डोन्ट युज द वर्ड स्टोलन. लट अफ द पिपल वान्ट टु गिभ इट ब्याक.
ओके
जस्ट से इट वाज मिस आई मिन लाइक यु क्यान युज अ डिफ्रेन्ट टर्म. अनि चाहिँ नेपालमा चाहिँ नि ल्याउनुको लागि लेट्स फर्स्ट क्रिएट अ स्पेस वे यु क्यान किप इट सो इट टु द पिपल. किनभने चाहिँ नि म्युजियमहरूले पनि चाहिँ नि यदि चाहिँ फिर्ता दिनुको लागि त बिकज दे अल्सो पेड मनी फर इट फर विथ हुएभर होइन त्यसरी दिनुको लागि चाहिँ फेरि चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ स्टोरभित्र नै फाल्ने हो भने चाहिँ नि द्याट मिन्स वी आर नट रिस्पेक्टिङ आवर ओन. जस्ट अब त्यो त्यहाँ छ हामीले चाहिँ फेरि चाहिँ सोसियल मिडियामा चाहिँ त्यहाँ छ त्यो चोरेर लगेको भन्नलाई चाहिँ नि वी आर अल लाइक त्यो कमेन्टहरू लाइक सेयरहरू चाहिँ दिइरहेको हुन्छ. यहाँ आइसकेपछि फेरि कसलाई पनि मतलब छैन कि फेरि भनिसकेपछि चाहिँ नि I had given a proposal saying let's make a museum. The museum will be called Museum in Transit. तपाईँको नारायण दरबार चाहिँ नि it has 800 rupees of land doing nothing. There are like so many buildings there doing nothing. एउटा ठाउँ चाहिँ दिदियो where any repatriated artifacts आउँदाखेरि चाहिँ त्यसमा चाहिँ डिस्प्लेमा राखौँ so people will come and get to see it.
नारायण म्युजियम भित्र
होइन that ठाउँ त I'm like you got huge space right in the middle of the center of the city doing nothing. त्यहाँ एउटा building I've gone inside there are so many buildings just lying empty. त्यहाँ एउटा ठाउँ दिएर चाहिँ नि अनि चाहिँ नि बाहिरको म्युजियमहरूलाई पनि के भन्छ भने नेपाल really wants it back. They have a place for it. They are respecting their own stuff भनेपछि उनीहरूले दिन्छ. अहिले चाहिँ दिइरहेको छ इट्स गोइङ टु द छाउनीको चाहिँ स्टोर रुममा nobody gets to see it.
नारायण भित्र गर्नको लागि केले अड्काइरहेको छ जस्तो लाग्छ.
Policies. It's government policies and the willingness in the bureaucrats to do it.
As a private sector, would you be interested to build something there?
I would not
Invest.
be involved. No, not about it's not matter invest, but I don't want to be involved with artifacts. So that's also one of the reasons that we actually made the museum. Nepalको चाहिँ नि म्युजियम मोना बनाउँदाखेरि पनि लिभिङ आर्टिस्ट भनेको चाहिँ के भन्छ नि द्याट इज देयर इट्स क्लिन. भोलि गएर चाहिँ नि ल राजनले चाहिँ नि मोनाले चाहिँ नि बाहिरको चाहिँ आर्टिफ्याक्ट ल्याएको थियो अब फेरि डिसपियर भयो फेरि राजनले चाहिँ फेरि चाहिँ कुनै चाहिँ द्याट इज नट वाट आई वान्ट. आई ह्याड गिभन देम अ प्रपोजल दिस इज एन्ड इट्स नट भेरी डिफिकल्ट. अब म जस्तो सानो एउटा बिजनेसम्यानले त तपाईँको एउटा चाहिँ सानो म्युजियम खोल्न सक्छ भने चाहिँ नि गभर्मेन्टले चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ बिल्डिङलाई डेडिकेट गर्नलाई चाहिँ सक्दैन सक्छ नि तर गिभ रिस्पेक्ट टु द आर्टिफ्याक्ट द्याट्स कमिङ ब्याक भने कि बिकज द्याट्स द फर्स्ट क्वेसन द्याट एनी म्युजियम्स international museums will ask is, okay, we are willing to repatriate this artifact to you. Where are you going to keep it? What are you going to do with it? That's the first question they'll ask. And we said, no, we have a special museum where people can come and see. And that is the respect that you give. त्यो हुन साथै चाहिँ नि उनीहरूले दिन थाल्छ क्या.
You sure about this? दिन्छ होला.
100% दिन्छ. Most of the museums nowadays they don't want to touch these stolen artifacts. जस्तै कि चाहिँ इन्डियामा चाहिँ कोहिनूर डायमन्डको चाहिँ कत्रो ठुलो इस्यु भइरहेको छ. And most of these big museums all over the world they don't want because they know especially चाहिँ हाम्रो नेपाल इन्डियामा चाहिँ नि our art has always to do with spirituality with religion and they don't want to keep that.
उनीहरूलाई फिर्ता दिनु मन छ
मिन्छ फेरि कस्तो जस्तै कि I was in British Museum just a couple of months ago. उनीहरूसँग यति धेरै माछामान छ राख्ने ठाउँै छैन क्या.
हाम्रो कि
इन जेनरल हाम्रो पनि यति अनि दे वुड रादर गिभ इट अवे के देन जस्ट किपिङ इट इन द स्टोर रुम. यति धेरै माछामान छ त्यो दुई चारवटा चाहिँ उनीहरूलाई चाहिँ त्यो पब्लिक भ्युङलाई देखाउने भनेको त त्यो दुई चारवटा मात्रै हो. अरू त स्टोरभित्र त हजारौँवटा पिसहरू छ एन्ड दे डोन्ट नो वाट टु डु विथ इट. दे रादर गिभ इट टु अस बट provided that we give them a proper space. And if we can do it, if the next इलेक्सनमा चाहिँ कुनै पनि पार्टीले चाहिँ 100% जित्ने हो भने यो गरिदियो भने चाहिँ त्यसै जित्छ बिकज नेपाली मान्छेहरूले चाहिँ ओ ल अमेरिकाबाट चाहिँ नि भगवान आयो रे शिव आयो रे बुद्ध आयो रे यस्तो यो गभर्मेन्टले गर्दाखेरि यो आयो रे भने भन्दा भन्नु न मन्दिरहरू चाहिँ त्यसै भन्छ नेपाली मान्छेले त्यसै भोट दिन्छ
भुइँचालोमा कतिको उ भयो what do you think did we lose
एज इन
arts
डिड वी लुज आर्ट नो वी डिडन्ट लुज आर्ट
did anything get stolen during the earthquake do you think
as far as I know very little if maybe it may be minimal तर very little किनभने चाहिँ नि the community जस्तै कि चाहिँ काठमाडौँ दरबार स्क्वायरमा चाहिँ नि when the temples fell down
exactly
as far as I know they were like the next day or during that time
during
itself,
that time नै
during that time the people were there protecting the art
एक्ज्याक्टली मैले नै पर्सनली मेरो आँखाले चाहिँ मैले भक्तपुरमा म पाटनमै थिएँ त्यो दिन होइन मैले त्यो कम्युनिटी कमिङ टुगेदर देखाएको थिएँ कि मैले
एकदमै
हुन्छ नि अफकोर्स 70s 80sमा चाहिँ इट वाज अ लिल बिट डिफ्रेन्ट त्यसको मतलब चाहिँ हुन्छ नि होइन
लट डिफ्रेन्ट त्यसमा चाहिँ आई मिन लाइक धेरै चाहिँ नि त्यो आर्ट डिलर्सहरू चाहिँ नि त्यो ब्रोकर्सहरू चाहिँ धेरैजना मान्छेहरू यहाँ आएर लट अफ द आर्ट वेन्ट आउट
आजको दिनमा वेयर डु यु थिङ्क आवर आर्ट गोज द मोस्ट चाइना
आजको दिनमा चाहिँ नि आर्ट मोस्टली मेबी स्टिल युरोप एन्ड युएस
England for the most part.
आई मिन लाइक युएस
We should use the mic. If majority goes to the US, other not China.
चाइनामा चाहिँ नि बिकज चाइनामा चाहिँ नि हाम्रो आर्टिफ्याक्टहरू अफकोर्स इज भ्याल्युड अ लट तर चाहिँ नि उनीहरूको आफ्नै पनि त धेरै त्यस्तो चाहिँ एन्टिक आर्टहरू छ नि त्यसमा चाहिँ भ्याल्यु धेरै तान्दैन कि युएसमा युरोपमा चाहिँ भ्याल्यु चाहिँ धेरै तान्छ सो अफकोर्स दिस काइन्ड अफ आर्ट गेट्स सोल्ड वेयर द भ्याल्यु इज मोर
So interesting. What is something that sells the most, if you don't mind me asking? आजको दिनमा
sells most as in a specific deity.
No, not just a deity. Yeah? I'm talking about like, is it a painting? Is it a sculpture? Like even within the art spectrum, if you had to define it. Okay?
Paintings.
Paintings.
Because it's very easy to carry. And I was saying statuesहरू लाग्दाखेरि of course it's heavy and त्यो हुन्छ अब ठाउँ पनि धेरै अब पेन्टिङ भनेको चाहिँ just roll up and just take it. अब it is said अर्निकोले चाहिँ नि बनाएको पौवा इट इज इन द म्युजियम अफ सिन्सिनाटी मैले त देखेको त छैन सिन्सिनाटी म्युजियममा द्याट इज नियरली अबाउट 11th centuryको पेन्टिङ 11th-12th centuryको पेन्टिङ एन्ड इज सपोज बी वान अफ द मोस्ट एक्सक्लुसिभ पौवा इट्स एक्चुली इन सिन्सिनाटी
एकपल्ट एक्स चेक गरेर त अर्निको पौवा सिन्सिनाटी भनेर गरेर त हेरेर त एकपल्ट कस्तो
अनि चाहिँ नि कुबलाई खानको द मोस्ट फेमस कुबलाई खान पेन्टिङ is done by Arnico.
I don't know who Kublai Khan is. I'm so sorry. Kublai Khan.
हाम्रो कुबलाई खान यो जेङ्गिस खान
It's Genghis Khan. Okay. उसको
जेङ्गिस खानको छोरा इज कुबलाई खान
Okay.
अनि हिज पेन्टिङ इज इन ताइवान म्युजियम
ए हो र
उसको मोस्ट फेमस पोर्ट्रेट आई मिन लाइक इफ यु क्यान सो मी आई टेल यु विच वान
ए
उसको कपी चाहिँ बासे त्यहीँ छ हाम्रो नाफामा छ
गेङ्गिस खानको ग्रान्डसन चाहिँ रहेछ
ग्रान्डसन एकपल्ट हेरेर त
मैले देखाउनु न म भनिदिन्छु उसको र उसको वाइफको चाहिँ नि पेन्टिङ विच इज डन बाई अर्निको साइन छैन बट वी अल नो इज डन बाई अर्निको इज इन म्युजियम अफ ताइवान
Museum of Taiwan. Open Google once and let's do it together.
Just do Genghis Khan and I'll tell you which painting.
Wow, so interesting. It's all around the world.
It's all around the world. The whole तपाईँको चाहिँ नि बुद्धिज्मै चाहिँ चाइनामा ल्याएकै चाहिँ नि हाम्रो चाहिँ नि अर्निकोले द फर्स्ट पगोडा वाज built in Beijing was built by him. He was oh त्यही त हो that one that is done by
Yeah, press it. थिच त
अनि त्यो उसको वाइफ this one is in Taiwan.
Go back. Which one? This one is his wife.
Yeah, that's his wife.
That's his wife.
Two portraits.
This is not my Arnico. No, no. Wow. यो थाहा थिएन मलाई यो कुरा थाहा थिएन which one is the other one that you were saying? There was one more that you were saying. अर्को एउटा भन्नुभएको थियो
ए त्यो सिन्सिनाटी म्युजियममा चाहिँ हेर्नुहोस् न
सिन्सिनाटी होइन CIN
Cincinnati.
CI
That's also Genghis Khan.
TY TI ठिक छ उतै तल छ तल छ नो गो अप showing results 4 भनेर थिच त त्यहाँ Oh, yeah, press that. Which one is it? Cincinnati or I don't know. I don't know, something like that.
Yes.
But anyways, we're trying to figure out that how old paintings do we have भनेर क्या नेपालको एक हिसाबले just conversation गर्दाखेरि के हुन्छ नि होइन when did artists actually start painting in Nepal भन्ने हिसाबले के
There is no specific date that we know of.
Yeah.
And what you need to understand is a Buddha born 2600 years ago. बुद्धको टाइमबाट चाहिँ नि अहिलेसम्म पनि चाहिँ नि how did the information get passed on? It is all through scripts and paintings.
Yeah.
So we know that the paintings are as old as 2600 years old. Because त्यो अल्बो इन्टरनेट छ त्यो टाइममा चाहिँ तपाईँको जेनेरेसनको जेनेरेसन कसरी पास अन भयो how did it get passed on? So if you look at the first art human being created was 42,000 years ago. It's still in the caves of, I think, of Indonesia. That's the first cave painting, 42,000 years ago. That was the depiction of how humans used to hunt animals. That is how the information. Today we know 42,000 years ago humans used to hunt animals is through that cave art.
Yeah.
So all the teachings of Buddhism, Hinduism, of our religion has been passed on through artwork. अहिले चाहिँ तपाईले चाहिँ नि so one of the big questions that people always ask me when they come to the museum, because on the one side we have spiritual art and on the other side we have contemporary art. They say like, what is the difference between spiritual art and contemporary art? So that's the question. And they say like, spiritual art is also one of the first forms of contemporary art. Because spiritual art मा चाहिँ नि तपाईले चाहिँ नि भगवानहरुको चाहिँ टिचिङहरु कसरी कन्भे हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ it was through depiction. So your green tara, why is the body green? Because it has a meaning. It is a part of a teaching. But it needs to be depicted somewhere, somehow. So त्यसलाई green बनाएको कारण त्यो हो के. Why is she holding a flower? The flower has a meaning. So the flower is depicting a kind of a teaching.
Even the mudra. Yeah.
Even the mudras, everything. So that's what it is. So all the teaching that is coming on through today, and our teaching has been, and so the perfection of the teaching has not been able to. अब हामी तीनजनै बस्दाखेरि चाहिँ मैले तपाईलाई एउटा कुरा भन्दाखेरि तपाईले उस्ता भन्दाखेरि कुरा चेन्ज हुन्छ तर चाहिँ टिचिङ त अहिलेसम्म त चेन्ज भएको त छैन. We are still talking about the same compassion. We are still talking about the same ways of doing all the rituals and all the stuff, because these paintings were perfect. So that's why these artwork is so important to us.
So interesting. कस्तो interesting. Mithila art मलाई बडो interesting लाग्छ. Being very honest here, right? I love Mithila art.
It's very colorful.
It's very colorful.
It's very vibrant.
It talks के त्यो हुन्छ नि, it talks to me, हैन? मलाई एकदमै vibrant लाग्छ, मलाई एकदम मन पर्छ, हैन? अनि of course I had a
we call it more of tribal art.
Tribal art. There you go. हैन? अनि राजा जनकको पालाबाट सुरु भयो कि जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई, हुन्छ नि हैन त्यो समयमा.
I don't know the history per se.
We're just talking about it, हैन? अनि केही आर्टिस्ट साथीहरु आउनु भएको थियो, हैन? अनि विदेशबाट म्यान वान भनेर पनि आउनु भएको थियो कि हैन? उहाँहरुले चाहिँ यता बानेश्वरमा चाहिँ I don't know if you've seen that or not. उहाँहरुले चाहिँ म्युरल्स देखि लिएर हैन हाम्रो नेपाली आर्ट्स पनि गएर मिक्स गरेर चाहिँ उहाँहरुले बनाउनु भएको थियो, हैन? अनि we're talking about things, and it got me wondering, के अब 21st century and whatever art we've had for such a long time, हुन्छ नि हैन? र आजको सेन्चुरीमा त्यसको मिक्सचर गर्दाखेरि के हैन? Will people get confused in another 100 years, 200 years, or how do you think art is going to evolve in another 100, 200, 300 years? Okay? What the kind of modern art that we have today? Like we have Banksy, for example, creating a revolution. And then we also have we have Samudra. So don't you think the world is kind of changing? And also I'd like to throw into this that about the artificial intelligence le pani art banaun thalisakyo ke. We have NFTs too. So there's so many different things coming. Okay? Digital map pani huncha ni haina. So how do you think the world is going to be in the coming next millennium?
I don't know what the world is going to be tomorrow. Forget next millennium. But one of the biggest reasons that we as a human being have been able to survive is because we evolve with time. That's the reason we have been able to survive so far. And art, much like I said, now like AI is creating artwork. Now even human beings don't need to create artwork.
Yeah.
That's why the originality of human being will always, it'll be more and more. Okay, then the appreciation is going to be more and more, because now creativity is becoming a problem. People are not being able to create because they see so much influences. So the real raw creative utilization, I think there will be more space for artists. Of course, artists, to become a successful artist, I think of all of the profession in the world, successful artist is one of the most, or if not the most difficult.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? I'm like, when I say artist, I just don't mean a person with a canvas and a paintbrush. I'm like, artist is, the word art has become like the epitome of describing something exclusive. The art of food, the art of life, the art of everything. Now, when you want to say like it's like exclusive, like the art of, we are artists. You are an artist. You're an amazing artist.
Thank you.
You know, and like look what you do. And this भोलि चाहिँ तपाईँको पछाडि चाहिँ अरू चाहिँ पडकास्ट गर्ने चाहिँ अर्को 1000 जना मान्छे आए पनि चाहिँ नि Sanjay will be Sanjay, because he's the one who initiated the whole thing. Tomorrow maybe there's going to be a bigger museum than Mona. I don't care. I hope so. That is what we wanted to do it in the first place, to create this kind of wave, so that we'll always be the first one. Today, the Kathmandu Guest House is still there. People still talk about it because we are the pioneers. And that's what its originality is all about.
Yeah.
The original person will always be revered, will always be appreciated. And that's what makes us human beings, I think.
No doubt on that. That's very well said. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming. I really want to thank you. I really want to thank you as well, Bishesh. And of course, we'll see more of you in the future as well. You know, you're teaching at King's. How many students in your class, Peter?
About 35 there.
35. How long have you been teaching?
2.5 years.
2.5 years, 35. I need to come to one of your classes.
Yeah.
I need to come. यस्तो रहेछ क्या दाइ, मैले I saw this about I read this about Steve Jobs. Okay, I'm not formally educated, होइन. अनि यहाँ केयुको भिसी आउनु भएको थियो, उहाँले मलाई यो टर्म सिकाएर जानुभएको थियो कि होइन, डोन्ट सी, पढाएको छैन भने तिमी you're not formally educated भन्दै हुन्थ्यो कि मलाई. हस् सर भनेर भनेको थिएँ मैले, होइन. Who is the VC of KU? I'm not going to argue with him at all. अनि I read this about Steve Jobs where he let go of one sector of education and decided to go into any class that he wants to, okay? And he went to a calligraphy class. If he hadn't gone to that calligraphy class, we wouldn't be using an iPhone today, most probably.
Really? I didn't know that.
So he just went to a class. He just showed up to a class. After a trip to India, trying some acid, I believe he went back and went to a calligraphy class. And I believe that was his interest. And I was just joking with Bishesh that I'll come to one of your classes because I'm slightly weak on finance, and I'll just swing by and I'll just sit in one of your classes. And I realized that, I'm lucky that I could go into some class and just sit and learn a little bit. I came to your museum and I learned a few things there as well. So I believe the learning should never end. And I'd also like to say that you've started this. I'm sure there are many more things that you definitely want to do in the future as well. And I think that should never stop. Today there's a museum. It got click over a tea. You started it. Maybe something else is going to hit you and you're going to start something different.
Hopefully.
And I suggest you to keep doing that. Innovation is very hard. I don't know if this is the right time to say it, but innovation is very, very hard. The first step is very hard. Okay? The first step, it's kind of becomes like a little bit easier because you see more doors and you have more doors to open. But the first initiation of that innovation is very hard. Like you were asking me, we did this in COVID. You did this in COVID. It was not easy.
Only we know, right?
Exactly.
If you don't innovate, you'll become obsolete. So in order to survive, you have to innovate. Otherwise, someone else is there who's smarter than you, who's got more money than you, who's willing to crawl through the thing to get to where you are. So if you want to survive and if you want to be where you are, you have to innovate. It doesn't work that way because there are 8 billion other people who will want to do what you are doing.
And do it better.
Do it better. And they will do it better.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah.
The newer generation is supposed to do better.
नो डाउट अन द्याट बिफोर वी लेट यु गो होइन कतिजना आर्टिस्ट साथीहरूले पनि सुन्दै हुनुहुन्छ होला होइन नेपालैभरिबाट सुन्दै हुनुहुन्छ होला विदेशमा बसेर पनि सुन्दै हुनुहुन्छ होला होइन इफ समबडी वान्ट्स टु सपोर्ट एन आर्टिस्ट होइन दे क्यान गो टु यर वेबसाइट दे क्यान लुक एट द वर्क
Of course.
right? If an artist wants to be a part of your studio, you know, is that possible?
Of course.
Do you have space?
I'll create space. I will create space if they are good enough, if they are worthy, if they are true to themselves, and if they are really want to be an artist, we will create space. There's enough space. The world is a very big place. A heart is a very big place. You just need to find a space for it. That's what we do.
Wow.
And the museum is open 7 days a week. They can come and meet me anytime. My doors are always open. The Kathmandu guest house is always open. The art house is always open. 7 days a week. Dasain, Tihar, rain, sun, shine. We are always open. That's what it is. So if any artist wants to come, my phone number is on the website. I've had the same phone number since we've had mobile phone. Everybody knows. Even during the Mahabharata time, all the Maoists in the jungle knew my phone number.
Well, I'll leave that to the next time. Bishesh, thank you so much for coming. Do you want to say anything right at the end?
No, I think we summed it up pretty well.
No, I'm glad. I'm really happy. Come back again. We'll talk more, sir.
Definitely.
We'll talk more. मलाई कस्तो हुन्छ भने एकदम इन्ट्रेस्टिङ लाग्छ है मलाई हुन्छ नि होइन नयाँ नयाँ कतै न कतैबाट आर्ट इज इनोभेसन जस्तो लाग्छ है मलाई बिकज इट्स एम्प्टी क्यानभस लाइक एभ्री डे आई सिट विथ गेस्ट हियर एन्ड देन आई इमेजिन द्याट इट्स एम्प्टी like it's it's an empty canvas and then we fill it up with so many different conversations that people can listen after maybe 100 years.
Of course. Right. Documentation.
Exactly.
Whatever we are saying today is a documentation.
Exactly. That's it. That's actually how I see it.
Yeah, we are documenting every day of our life, and the art is documented every day.
And I sit and learn here, and I learned so many things
and
today.
with this, I mean, in the future, they will be saying like, "Oh, this is what they did. Let's not make the mistake that they did. Let's improve on what they did."
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Wow. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bishesh. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, X.
If you love what we are doing, make sure that you subscribe and turn on notifications. This program is brought to you by Vyas Studios.